Well, there goes. Wait a minute. Let me play the intro music and do this properly, and then I'll do the very long and pointless, there goes the Daverhood thing. So get ready, first of all, for our intro for Dave's Gone By.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
There goes the Daverhood.
And there was much rejoicing.
Didn't your meds kick in yet?
We got David Lefkowitz here. He's a Long Island arts guy. He's got his own radio show.
I want you all to really enjoy a wonderful program done by a fine artist.
A glorious thing of unparalleled beauty.
Dave's Gone By. Dave is one of my very favorite broadcasters, so keep on listening to Mr. Dave.
Well, there goes let me get my wristwatch out. This is very important. Most important part of the show. Daverhood. That was a good 10 seconds. Man, I don't know how people can hold their breath for like 3 minutes underwater. They practiced, of course, but I don't care how much I would practice. It would never get to the point where I could hold my breath knowingly, unless God wanted to take my life in a drowning incident and said, you know what, no, I'm going to spare him. And even though he's not even consciously breathing, I'm going to help him somehow retain enough air in his lungs so that he doesn't die. But if I were to make a conscious effort to kind of hold my breath, go underwater, and try not to drown, I think I could make about 45 seconds to a minute or so. It's not something I would ever try in a swimming pool or in any kind of large body of liquid. But anywho, not sure if that's apropos of anything, but thank you so much already to the people who are joining us this morning, including John and Michael, and of course, Cynthia and Jeff and Kim and Paul. Cynthia says good morning. Good morning, Cynthia. And our friend Tony and Karen and so many more folks and people joining us in the watch party that we've got going on. So yes, so much going in the Daverhood every Saturday from 9 until noon or thereabouts with me, Dave Lefkowitz. A couple of days from Veterans Day, so we spare actually no expense on this program to have exciting visual and graphic effects. If you can see that, perhaps. So there's a mirror image, so when I go this way, it's actually going that way. But this is an American flag right there. So yeah, thank you, Trader Joe's. But big thanks, of course, to everybody who served in foreign and local wars and wars across the street. We always think of the veterans as folks from World War I, World War II, Iraq, Korea, Grenada. But when the cops have to show up for a domestic incident, we can say thanks for that Veterans Day as well. And yes, I am wearing the very important ketchup. Excuse me. And I don't want to say the FF word, but a kind of potato shirt, because we will have the return of potato news on this episode of Dave's Gone By in the Daverhood. We tend to do that about once a month because we gather news that is important to our potato friends. And they like to listen to that, and because everybody hears news for humans. And there's even stations that give you news about pets and wildlife and stuff. But where I ask you, besides right here, is there news for our potato friends? And I do apologize for the raspiness of my voice. This always happens when I don't talk much in the morning. And then I go right on the air without realizing it's time to do some vocal exercises. But within the next 3 hours or so, I promise, eventually I'll have a terrible coughing fit. And then, and then that will work everything right out. And I'll sound beautiful. I'll sound like, Pavarotti or Placido Domingo convincing some girl to do something she shouldn't because he's got power over her. But, this is our 720th edition of Dave's Gone By. We're very happy with it because we've got, here's all the stuff that we're going to do for you over the next hour or two or three. First of all, we will have musical guests, the folk, blues, pardon me, and somewhat jazzy musicians, Pete and Maura Kennedy will be here. They've been at it longer, almost than the Kennedy clan have been in politics and dying off. Pete and Maura, who I do not believe are related. Well, they're related to each other. They've been married for a zillion years, but they make cool music together, and they do a ton of concerts, especially around this time of year, through the holidays, and they'll be in the New York area a lot, including a stop on Long Island on November 21st at a local library that I tend to know rather well. So you can actually go see Pete and Maura Kennedy at this library. I think tickets are free, so totally go for it. If you miss them there, they do a lot of benefit concerts this time of year, and you can also find them, I believe they're doing something at Urban Stages in December as well. But you know what? They're going to be talking to the one, the only, the Jewish, pardon me, Rabbi Saul Solomon, who is a fan of Pete and Maura Kennedy's work. So he will be asking them questions about their life, their career, their music, what it's been like to make a living in the music business in the post, the big label world, in the world of touring and putting out your own music and getting gigs and arranging and all that sort of thing. So very cool stuff. Pete and Maura Kennedy coming up on Dave's Gone By. And that's not all. Okay, we have that. We're very excited about that. And that that is sort of the cornerstone of this particular episode that we are calling, this is the obvious one to go to. We're calling this episode the Live Kennedys. Get it? Live Kennedys as opposed to the Jello Biafra. Anyway, so aside from that, we'll go inside Broadway for theater news and reviews because, I'm a playwright, I'm a theater critic, been a theater journalist for a bunch of years. So I love talking about the theater, giving you theater news. There's, there's a Broadway show that I believe is closing this week, but more importantly, a big Broadway show opened this past week, and the critics all reviewed it. I went to see it. I'm going to review it for you. Has to do with another musician, perhaps even a little more famous than Maura Kennedy, Tina Turner. Tina Turner musical opened on Broadway. I'm going to let you know what I thought. And I also got to catch up with a show that opened a couple of weeks ago, starring Brian Cox. It's the second installment in Robert Schenkkan's trilogy about the presidency of Lyndon Baines Johnson. The first show was called All the Way, and it starred Bryan Cranston. This one is called The Great Society, about Lyndon's great plan, his great liberal democratic plan for reshaping America. However, he had one little problem to deal with that was not domestic and kind of took his focus just a little bit from civil rights and welfare and feeding the hungry and homeless and poverty and education and little things like that. Little town called Saigon that he had to deal with. So this play looks at Lyndon Johnson's presidency from those years, from the years when Vietnam was ramping up, while he was trying to ramp up his domestic agenda. Robert Schenkkan takes that on in the show at Lincoln Center. It's called The Great Society, and I'm going to let you know what I thought of it, as well as the big new Tina Turner musical starring Adrienne Warren that opened this past week. So are you excited? Are you excited already about this Dave's Gone By? And I'm especially being very, larger than life right now because my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, who usually joins me for the beginning of the show, and we do Greeley Crimes and Old Times together and just banter and talk together. Oh, she's out in Colorado for a couple of weeks, away from me. I'll actually be seeing her this coming weekend in Austin, Texas. But she'll probably call in, I hope, if she wakes up early enough out west, and then join us on the phone for a little bit. But, until she does, I kind of feel like I'm sucking wind here. I'm like trying to be even larger than usual to make up for not having that tete-a-tete, that rapport. Although I can bring, since we're having potato news today, I can bring a potato in. Hold on. Here's and my wife was kind enough before she left town to make Potato a very special hat. It's not Kangol or anything like that. It's a little bit, it's the famed Wamu hat that she made for Potato. So he looks kind of like a sailor man like this, or a little more Robin Hood peaky sort of thing. He's very excited about the return of Potato News. I know I am as well. So yeah, there's that coming on. Potato News, our Inside Broadway segment, our chat with Pete and Maura Kennedy featuring Rabbi Sol Solomon, the one, the only, the Jewish. What else are we doing? Oh yes, Cynthia and Jeff, you know that you are tuning in especially for, not even all that other stuff, but the Today, Yesterday quiz. It is November 9th, 2019. So we're going to go back through time and look at some older November 9ths from 10 years ago, 100, even perhaps several hundred years ago. What happened on this date in history? A trivia quiz. Oh, I'm getting thumbs up already from Cynthia and Jeff. And by the way, my cousin Mark says, good morning, cuz. And yes, indeed, good morning to you, Mark. I'm so sorry I missed you when you were in town. Go figure, you would show up on one day. I'd work late until 9 o'clock and couldn't go with you to have so much fun at the cemetery, seeing my old dead relatives, but I was there in spirit. In my mind, I left a rock or two on each headstone, because I'm 55 years old. I don't have wet dreams anymore or really erotic sexual dreams. I visit dead relatives in cemeteries like Baron Hirsch, and then it's like, oh, in the mind, gotta put the rock, and then I wake up because the dog wakes me up and I've got to change his diaper. The dog is sleeping, by the way, across the way in the room. So he'll make a cameo soon as well. But hello, Cousin Mark. Hello, Cousin Cynthia. And who else? And Michael tuned in. And David and Chris and Karen. And, of course, Tony. Oh, and I do believe we have a phone call. Let me see if I can get this going before we lose the call. Hold on. This is Dave's Gone By. Who's calling, please?
Fish who farts.
Well, wait, I'm not sure why this is. Oh no, I want to take you off speaker. Let me see if you come through these speakers now. Hello?
Can you tell me if I'm the fish who farts?
Now Joyce is referring to a segment that we're not doing on Dave's Gone By today. We're going to take a break from our Storytime segment, but because for the past 16 episodes, we were reading a book called Why Fish Farts. Well, Why Fish Fart. And Joyce.
Well, David, they may make more.
Yeah.
Can I tell you? I hear echo now.
Oh, it's because we're coming through the speakery things. If I move the speaker, nobody can hear it, can I? Tell me if this gets a little bit better. Is it better?
Hello. It's still there.
It's still there.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to take you off
listen,
speaker. I'm just going to have you coming. What?
I'll deal with it.
Okay. But here's the deal. Why did you not like our Storytime book, Why Fish Fart?
Well, I felt it was misleading.
Misleading, indeed. And why would that be there?
Because it was 27 chapters about like octopus decapitation.
Yeah.
And then the last chapter had why tilapia farts.
Right, yeah, exactly. It was the penultimate chapter finally made good on the promise of the title of the book. The book was all of it was by Francesca Gould, and it's gross but true facts of the world. So horrible jobs that people have had, terrible ways to die, ridiculous things that people eat. But it was a cute title, and come on, the fish on the cover was really cute, right?
No.
Well, but you have to admit they didn't do a bait and switch. They told you on the cover that eventually they would get to which kind of fish actually fart underwater, and they did. So I don't understand your hatred.
It was a complete letdown.
Oh man, you are so hard to please. I gotta tell you.
Let me just say, I would rather go see Hamilton.
Oh, But Joyce has, I mean, usually there are things she hates and she has damn good reason to hate them. But that book, and also Lin-Manuel Miranda, you have taken this dislike of the man whom I have never met, right? I have seen In the Heights. I enjoyed it very much. I cannot get into Hamilton. I can hate him for that because I can't even win the lottery to get $10 Hamilton tickets.
There you go.
But you have against, I don't know, you have this thing that you feel he is false modest, right? Is that the deal?
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to say it.
Okay, well,
That's exactly how I feel.
well, I'm false modest. You usually,
No,
yeah.
you're not modest at all.
Really? I don't fake humility even in front of other people? Yeah.
During your show, a plastic chair broke, almost knocked over a woman with a recent hip fracture,
Yes.
almost killed music faculty, shot plastic
Yes.
through the audience, almost in people's eyes,
True.
and you stood up there and said, "Listen to me and look at me."
No, wait a minute. Wait, I stopped a song.
Because no one was looking at you.
Yeah, well, that's
That's why.
it's true. Joyce is referring to a time in a play when I was on stage, singing my heart out, and people were sitting on cheap ass plastic chairs, and one somewhat largish man, his chair broke from under him. Yeah, what?
He wasn't large.
Well,
You had the chairs that we used for like Oktoberfest, Jazz Fest. I mean, these chairs were pretty rickety.
right, exactly, yeah.
They were plastic lawn chairs.
Yeah, but he's that guy. I mean, I'm not saying he's a big fat man, but he had to weigh
He's
200
tall.
pounds, or yeah, he's a big guy.
And it had nothing to do with his size.
Hmm.
That chair leg looked like it had been folded. I think you rigged it.
Yeah, but it's not like he came crashing. You're right. He
Did come crashing down.
Yeah, but it's not like he sat down and bam, it fell. It just went out from under him while it was sitting there.
I think he was fidgety.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Oh, thanks. So I'm on stage trying to be brilliant. And what are you doing there? Hello?
I'm getting paper towels.
Oh, okay. Sounds like you're maneuvering furniture or something.
Because I'm trying to hear past the echo of myself and trying to get everything ready.
Ready for what? What's going on today? This is my wife, but in case you haven't noticed, this is my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, calling in from lovely Greeley, Colorado,
Yeah.
where we had lived for about 9 years.
Yeah.
So is it freezing? How is it in Greeley, babe?
It's supposed to get into the 60s today, which I'm hoping.
Well, it's in the 30s here in New York. You're not missing.
I think it's going to get warmer.
You think it's going to get warmer where you are?
That's what they said. And then Monday or Tuesday, it's going to snow.
Well, yeah. But we're going. Are you excited? Are you thrilled that we're going to Austin, Texas this coming weekend?
I'm thrilled for the conference, but I'm also thrilled that we have time to do a tour.
Yes. Joyce and I booked I assume it's it's a bus tour, right?
It's a bus tour where they like stop and you visit and then you get back on. I think they do food trucks.
Yes, they do. There's food trucks and you get a sweet treat, which is worth the price right there.
Maybe a donut.
Well, or what would be an Austin, Texas? Maybe donuts are their thing. I hope it's
got to be something fried with meat. Maybe it's breaded bacon.
I'm
Deep
there.
fried breaded bacon. Yeah.
Does anything in the world sound better than breaded bacon? As I was telling the audience before, I'm 55 years old. I don't have wet dreams anymore, sex dreams, but I will dream about breaded bacon. That's for sure.
Of course you will.
Oh man, I certainly shall.
Aww.
And I looked up. I don't know. I'm on the fence about the Museum of the Weird.
What? Why?
Because they say, I was reading the reviews of the place, and they say, okay, yeah, it's kind of weird. It's really more geared to old horror movies there.
Oh, I don't want that.
And it's $12 for adults to get in, and it's the size of a bedroom. You know,
I'm scared of horror movies. No.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're doing Saw stuff, but it seems okay. And the cool thing, and you're going to love this, the gift shop is free. You don't have to take the tour or anything like so, and all the cool stuff's in the gift shop. So we can,
That's a little contentious topic for us, no?
No, it's not. No, I'm just saying I want to go to the gift shop of the museum and not the actual museum. Why waste the $12 when all the cool stuff is right there and you can buy a couple of things and have the experience? I mean, what we would miss is the guy who's in the ice cube.
Oh no.
Well, no, not a real guy. They have an ice man who apparently is a dummy packed in ice or something like that.
I don't need to see that.
I know, right? So we can ditch the Museum of the Weird, but I do want to do that. And are you okay doing the bats?
Yeah.
Well, because apparently this is a thing in Austin, Texas.
Wait, David, as long as they don't like make guano on me.
Well, I think there's a place to stand. Seriously, everybody goes to this bridge in Austin at about dusk, 5-something in the afternoon. And these flights, these thousands of bats take off across the sky and just go swarming wherever bats swarm. And I guess if you stand in the right place, you don't get pelted with guano.
Oh, that's good.
Unless you're up for that sort of thing. Unless that's how they make really good Austin coffee.
Or money.
No, that too. What else do you want to do in Austin, babe?
I just want to see it. Everybody I talk to says we're going to love it.
Oh, good.
I'm gonna email the student here whose family has some kind of restaurant.
Oh, yes.
And I'll ask him if there's anything that like a non-tourist would see.
Definitely. Or if there are any restaurants that specialize in breaded bacon.
I think that's every restaurant.
Yeah. Well, you know I'm going to be chowing down on barbecue. That is for sure.
And what did I tell you? That's
What?
your lunch, because we eat a good dinner.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah.
you
Well, I
have
mean,
a meat lunch.
Joyce is vegetarian, so I'm sure we can find really. I mean, this is a major city.
They have vegan. Yeah, they have a lot of healthy people.
Right. We don't really want vegan because you can have egg and you can have cheese.
Yeah,
sort
but
of.
David, this is where the Buddha Field people were, so they have a lot of veg.
Oh, Bluefield. Was that documentary you were watching about, like
The cult, yeah.
Yeah. Did he kill, or was it just a scam, or what? I didn't see the documentary.
No.
What was that? Yeah.
I think he misrepresented himself to his following,
Yeah.
and then people left him, and then a lot of people left him, and then he moved, I think, to Hawaii,
Oh.
and he just had a core, but he didn't have the same volume.
Okay. That's you know, if I ever have a cult, I want fanatically loyal, even if there are just a few of them, so that they can wreak real havoc, and I don't have semi-believers and non-believers who leave when things aren't so easy,
I know.
or when the FBI is storming in. You know,
Wishy-washers.
I want that loyal, hypnotized core.
Oh, he was a hypnotist.
Oh, he
So
was.
that's how,
yeah.
So he didn't use drugs, and they would have these like hallucinatory experiences, like visual, audio, and feel like all this stuff.
Yeah.
He would hypnotize them.
Well, okay. I know a hypnotist personally, so I can probably draft this person's help in doing this.
I hope not.
Would you ever want to be I mean, we're both teachers, both professors to an extent in my case. Would you ever want to run a cult and lead people like that?
Sure.
What would you do if in that situation?
I wouldn't take money. I would like to have like a kibbutz or a commune. I'd like to live communally.
Huh.
With less emphasis on money.
Have you ever been in that kind of, have you ever lived in that sort of social situation for more than like a day or two?
No. I've had a lot of roommates.
Right.
But I've not done it. I would like it.
I don't know if I could deal with farming. You know?
Well, the commune in Virginia, they do proof editing, you know.
Yeah. Well, explain this. People have what do you mean?
So it's a collective in Virginia.
Yeah.
And I can't stand hearing myself, David. The feedback's killing me.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Let me take you off the speaker and put you on the cell, because that will kill the.
Will it?
Yeah, sure. It'll just be, the sound quality won't be as good for listeners, but it'll work. Hold on. Let me get you off here. Put you on the old speakeroo.
Thank you.
And let's try this now. How's the feedback now?
Hello? That's perfect.
Okay. All right.
So I'll tell you,
Yeah.
it's like a communal living group in Virginia.
Yeah.
And what they do is they have multiple funding sources or streams that they have. One of the funding streams is that they grow like strawberries and fruit and veggies, typical like agrarian society. But the other half of the group, they do like proof editing for books, for academic books and things like that. So it's a nice combo.
Okay, cool. I mean, people wouldn't think of something like that in terms of a commune. They would just think kibbutz stuff. Like half the people are farming and the other half are just holding guns and protecting the farm in Israel. So that would be, and that's what I figured a kibbutz was all the time. Either you're making food or you're defending the place.
Or some people work regular jobs and just contribute monetarily. It doesn't have to be everybody. It's like a Durkheimian society where everybody brings their functional best. Whatever you do best is what you do.
I've heard the name Emil Durkheim. I have no idea what is that? Who is Emil Durkheim?
Well, my friend Natalie is a theorist, so I'm not a good theorist, but he is a sociologist who basically says that in society, everyone should do different functions, and they should be like value free. Like let's say that you're an excellent poet, then you write poetry. If you're an excellent police officer, you're a police officer. If you're an excellent, street cleaner, chimney sweeper, everyone needs to perform a function for society to function as a collective, right?
Well, that's kind of a modified socialism in the sense that at least people get to do what they are best at, rather than the government telling you, well, yeah, you may be a great poet, but we need a street sweeper, which is sort of the difference, I guess. Does it work? Has his stuff ever been, tested that way?
Well, that's too deep for me to get into it. I'm not sufficiently caffeinated, and I don't have my friend the theorist. Even Diditi too, she's a theoretical. She would know more. But what I'm saying is that you can even have a commune that does like electronic stuff. It's just the idea of a communal living just means people live together, share resources, share, offer their support to each other. It's like co-housing.
Okay. I mean, it sounds interesting to me. I've never lived, I never even dormed when I was going to school. So I really living with people has never been my strongest suit. I co-housed for a week with a Czechoslovakian guy when we were in Romania. That's about the closest that I got, where, you all get really tight in and friendly with each other, but you're still sort of catered to in a way, as opposed to having to fend for yourself.
You were the guest.
Exactly. Yes.
Privilege.
Which I like. I like being the dying old privileged white male type. I'll ride that as long as I can.
No, I think you would like it, but I think for you it will be too many people.
Yeah.
I think like we both need alone time, but I think you need alone time a little more, and I think you might feel like there's too much going on. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to describe it.
No, you're describing it exactly right. I need to be me. I'm gonna be me, as it were.
I think you just need a little more alone time. That's all.
Oh hell yeah! Oh yeah. Can I contribute aloneness to the collective?
If you do something while you're alone that benefits the group, sure.
I could be quiet. I could not be telling jokes to them while they're trying to work and get their stuff done. That would be helpful.
I think you could contribute a lot. You could write a lot, do some history of the group. You could contribute by, getting external things. Like you could write stories. You could edit. You could do a lot of stuff.
Okay.
That would be semi-alone. Yeah.
All right. If anybody out there listening has a collective that needs an archivist, a historian, and or a playwright, writing funny skits for weekly dinners and things, give me a try. Give me a call. I'll try and make that happen. That'd be cool. I
think you would be great.
Well, thank you, sweetie. And you, what would you do? What would the best thing that you do? Would you teach people? What would you do in a collective?
I don't know what I would do. That's a good question. I'm not sure. What do you think? I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Well, the thing is, you have a mix because you've got more physical skill sets than I ever did. You can fix stuff.
I guess.
Yeah, and you can also teach and lecture and.
I could do the forbidden dance of
La lambada.
That would be I could do yoga. Like I can contribute
That's right.
by doing
Meditation.
classes on meditation and yoga.
Meditation, you're right. You actually could do that.
Yeah.
And also,
then,
you would be a good consultant for people who are or want to be vegetarian, vegan, have better diets.
Yeah. I could also do consulting but it would be external consulting for people not in the group who maybe thought about who would need help with their older adults.
Oh,
you know?
that too, yeah. Because my wife, if you didn't know, my wife is a gerontologist, so which deals with older
like,
folks.
what is that, like Nick Cave? I was a doctor then. I was a gerontologist then.
Yeah, well, back when the place where you taught still had a program in gerontology.
We still do until next semester, so I'm teaching out the folks.
Oh, okay. So the program still exists even though it's closed to new people. Is that the deal?
Correct. It's still in existence, but not open to new apps. Yeah. Very good, honey.
All right. No, it took me a while to get there. It always takes me about a year and a half to actually understand some of the things that my wife explains in terms of her program and stuff.
Well, it takes everyone time because things change rapidly, Dave. So
yeah, that's true.
You know, it's when things change rapidly, people don't know.
You know what I really could contribute, and that would be the best?
What?
I should be like a bank robber or a murderer.
Uh-huh.
That would be the best. That would be my thing to the collective. They need to be dead, or if they need a place to be ransacked and robbed, because I don't have a fingerprint. I've discovered this, and over the past couple of months where I work, I come into work in the morning, 4 or 5 days a week, and instead of punch cards, instead of signing in, instead of, hey, you're on the honor system, just come here on time and leave on time. No, it's government work. They're clocking, you're coming in, coming out, and you have to do it by fingerprint. And time and again, I have my index finger. They take my print.
It's
and
because you're sweaty. That's what Aunt Bonnie said. When you're sweaty, you can't tell. Like when you're sweaty, you can't do it. So you must just be very sweaty.
But I'm not. If anything, my finger is dry and very sort of scrunched up. So I kind of wonder if maybe what.
So if they can't take the DNA of my dad and you have no fingerprints, you both could go in the lamb.
It's so true. Because what will happen is every time you have to punch in for work, you have to punch out for lunch, you got to punch back in after lunch, you got to punch out at the end of the day.
Sure.
And each time you take your finger and you put it down on this little glass pad thing, and it's supposed to read your fingerprint. It's supposed to match. Like the FBI does, match all these points on the finger that they've got in their system, and then tell you, oh, it's you, welcome, punch in. Instead, it'll go, not recognized. And it'll say, put in your code. So there's a digit code that you put in, and put your finger down, not recognized. And after you do it, the most ridiculous part of this is if you do it 2 or 3 times and you put in your code, it actually is sort of recognizing you, just it's not telling you that it is. So it logs you in, but it logs you in, but it isn't telling you that you're logged in.
So how do you know?
Well, because we hear from the admins that, oh yeah, it's fine. We know at a certain time you put the code in, and somebody tried to clock in at exactly your time using your code thing, even though it didn't recognize your finger.
Hey, with Tony, we watched a show, and I don't know if it's called The Flash or something, but they have multiple universes where they have multiple people who are the same. So how do they know it's not a multiple David?
Wow.
It could not be you. It could be like it could be David from Earth 10 or something, another Earth.
It's just my commune clone.
Yes. Or it could just be like, I think sometimes Pikachu steals your identity.
Don't.
I'm just saying. I just want to throw that out there. I'm not saying anything more.
Don't go there. Yeah. That's a very, very at some point, if I ever leave the place, I've got stories to tell already. I've been working there full time for only 2.5 months, and I already have a backlog of stories for the rest of my life of working in this friggin' place. I'm telling you. Yeah.
When I talked to a group of people, they asked something, and I said, yeah, when you know where the bodies are buried, it's sad.
Well, yeah. Oh, my gosh, yeah. So I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about something else that really ticked me off this. I didn't get a chance to mention it last week. But where, and I ask you, and I ask all of you at home, where did the Halloween candy go? Where did the Halloween candy go?
All the candy go?
This was my great joy in my 30s and 40s.
We had it at CVS, but your mom said she had some already.
Well, what do they really have at CVS? Because by the time I got to CVS, which was like a day after Halloween, this is what I love to do. Yeah,
people were buying it up. You had to go right after. We had to go the morning after.
Really? And
because they were buying it up.
Because this was my. I'm not the only one with this great idea, but for years, day or two or three after Halloween, you would go to the supermarket, you go to Rite Aid, Duane Reade, CVS, those kinds of places, Walgreens, and you would go instantly to the Halloween candy aisle. Because up until midnight, October 31st, Halloween, a 1 pound bag of M&M Mars garbage chocolate candy was $4.50. I'm like, the hell with that. I'm not going to pay that. I'll let kids go hungry on my stoop. But day after, 50% off. And then I would buy my snacks for the year. I mean, like 5 pounds of this candy, and I end up eating it for the next several months. And I won't gorge on it, but I was like, oh, I'm not going to pay $5.50 for this, but I will pay $2.90. Well, not even. I'm cheap. I'll do $1.99 for the bag that was costing $4.50 just a day ago. And
Did
then
you try the supermarkets?
I did. That was the most disappointing thing. I felt for
You
sure.
should try CVS, but now they probably just have candy corn.
That's all they had. That is what they had on November 1st, day after Halloween.
You didn't go quick enough. Mom and I saw it when we went.
Oh my God! I was just like distraught. I was like, "This is the time. This is when I can get my my Three Musketeers, man, or Twix bars, or Milky Ways, or Hershey, or the little Hershey chocolate bars." Little crap that'll get me through the day if I need a snack.
Your mom has a stash of that stuff.
Yeah, man. First of all, I would like to buy my own stuff and not just keep sponging off my folks. And
but they can't have a lot of it. Remember.
And, well, I can also buy it for them if it's on sale the way it's supposed to be.
I asked her. She said she didn't want it.
Oh, okay. Well,
because I was going to buy it, and she's like, no.
I'm just saying it is not. That may be my personal situation with my family, but it is not right. It is not American. If you've got stores that hours after Halloween is over, take away 80% of the Halloween candy, and the only thing they have on the shelves is candy corn, which nobody likes. Nobody wants it.
They don't take it away. I think people purchase it. You're just late to the game, buddy.
Well, I would figure if I came 3 or 4 days later, yeah, I'd be late to the game. But you figure within 24 to 48 hours, they don't have the 75% candies.
No,
the Russell Stover.
We have around us, like all the Orthodox schools and stuff, those kids get candy and they're buying candy.
Well, would the Orthodox be, I guess if it's kosher parv, they could, right?
It's parv.
Yeah. Well, it was just, it was disappointing. And this is like the second or third year in a row that I have encountered this. But this is the year when I went very quickly, the day after. I didn't wait a day or 2 or 3. I went. And I was excited to go to the supermarket, and it was just like, whoa, what is this? Like Dippin' Dots and candy corn, 50% off.
I'm sorry.
You couldn't, I wouldn't take a bag of free candy corn. It's gross.
Some people like it, though.
I'm sorry. Well, yeah.
People who can't eat chocolate, that's not good Halloween candy for them.
Well, there's other things besides chocolate that people, they can eat bags of pretzels and individually whatever potato chips. Oh, sorry, potato.
What?
I know. Uh-oh.
Have you lost it?
Potato just got very angry at the mention of you-know-what chip. I'm wearing, by the way,
wouldn't you?
I'm wearing the special ketchup and you-know-what shirt that I got, babe.
Oh, French fry? Is that the one?
Daddy, you're a cannibal. You're a bastard. Oh, potato.
Oh, my God.
Well, come on. In one fell swoop, we've been talking about chips and fries. It sets him off. He has issues that way. Yeah. What else Well, what do you want to talk about? I've got you on the phone. What else is new?
I'm just tired. I got nothing. I'm going through I got my little laptop, which I love. I got to get a case. I got to do shopping.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
I hear you.
When I when I left my friend's house, I brought a cup of tea. I spilled most of it.
Right.
Then I had to go in and get water and put water on it. You know.
Wait, don't tell me you're already at the office?
Yeah, I'm in the office because the person I'm with might be sleeping or have TV, and it's a small place. I don't want to.
Yeah.
We're going out to breakfast and probably to see a movie. But to speak with you, I wanted to get out of their house so they have privacy.
Oh,
and
thank
they could
you.
sleep.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to go to the office, but of course I bring a cup of tea that I dump. I'm like, oh crap. And then after that, I kind of washed it, but I want to go blot it with paper towels so it doesn't freeze.
I hear. Yeah.
That's my excitement.
That's a day. Well, at least it's the weekend.
Hey, how's Ufty? Goofed our puppet.
Yeah, well, I could talk about our dog who is sleeping for the first part of the show here. I will bring him on. He'll wake up in a bit, and I'll have him as a cameo. Our dog gave us a scare 2 days ago because, especially my mom, who deals with him when Joyce is away and I'm not home, I'm at work. So Mom is, God bless my mom, she's in has to feed him and change his diaper.
I think I'm going to go back to the apartment and clean the tea. So you can talk with me, but you'll hear different sounds, okay?
Okay, if it gets completely crazy, I'll let you go. But
okay, yeah.
But hey, you'll hear street noises of Greeley, Colorado. That's a little something different on the radio. But we were worried that he was. I mean, he's had neurological issues for a couple of years. He's got arthritis. So we're always worried about that doggy down thing of him not being able to walk or stand. And it looked like he was having that issue 2 days ago, where she would just try to lift him to put his diaper on, and his back would just sink right down. I mean,
sometimes if you do the diaper too tight, it happens.
Yeah, but no. I mean, we're purposely not doing the diaper that, and I try and do it. And his tush and his whole hind is just wobbling and sinking down. You try and pick him up, wobble, sink down, and he assumes a very weird position, and and he can't really walk really well, and all he wants to do is be in this position where his tushy is angling downward, and Mom was worried. She's trying to reach me. She's saying, "Oh my God, there's something wrong with the dog. He can't walk. He's going lame. It's this and this," and we're trying to figure out what is and we're trying to figure out what is going wrong with the dog. And it turns out, and I've had this, in fact, I had this kind of this morning, not to be too detailed about this, but he was just in a in that limbo state between constipation and pooping.
Oh, God.
So, all day, that's all he wants to do. He just wants to squat down and try and get whatever's still in him out of him. So he's getting some out, and then you figure, okay, he went to poop, that's wonderful, now he'll be normal. And then, nope, right back to and just all day when he wasn't sleeping, and just in that position, hunching over. You felt bad for him. He didn't know what to do.
Usually you could take a baby wipe and wipe his tushy.
Well, that helped. When I finally figured out what was going on, and he had like this monster dingleberry going on back there.
So he's trying to get it off his tushy.
Yeah, and of course this is after he butt scoots all over the carpet, so that was fun. But if you ever don't necessarily panic if you think your dog might be going lame. He might just be in the middle of a poop that's happy and half out.
You need to play the Constipation Blues at some point.
Oh my God, Screamin' Jay Hawkins, Constipation Blues. Whoa! If you've never heard it, folks, it's a classic. But thank God, he seems to be back on an even keel.
And you have to ask Mom to give him a gabapentin at lunch, because with less gabapentin, he does get more wobbly. There's a direct connection.
Okay.
So if he gets less gabapentin, if he misses the lunch one, then he wobbles. Because the gabapentin works best if he gets it 3 times a day.
This is one of the only pills actually that our dog takes just for well-being. What?
I'm teasing.
Oh. No, because Gabby is one of the pills apparently that doesn't have negative side effects. Like it's almost impossible to overdose a dog on it.
It's not a painkiller that like hits you quick. What it does, if you have neurological or other damage, it kind of builds up in your system and makes you feel better.
That's cool.
So it's like if you miss a dose, you go low, and then it gets wobbly. So sometimes when I see him wobbling, I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to give him his lunch dose, you know?
Yeah. And in the case of this past week, a couple of days ago, it was all wobbly, he's taking a crap. And then that's what we figured out.
God bless him. God bless that little furry creature.
Yeah, he's adorable.
He's a joy. He's a joy in life. He's a Pisces, we found out, so he's like the manifestation of just bliss, you know?
Wow.
He is just a sweetheart. He like loves everybody. He wants to be with people. He's like the Little Mermaid in that song that says, I want to be where the people are, you know? He wants to be with people. He wants to have fun. You know, he's just a joy. I mean, it's just a complete joy.
It's amazing. You're describing something that is the complete opposite of me.
No, you, David, have a wonderful heart. You know, you're very kind.
Well, see, I fake it, though.
You're like my grandfather. My grandfather was a very solid, decent man, you know, like a, I don't know how to say it, but somebody who's like reliable, dependable, like a good man, you know?
Well, thank you.
Grandpa was a saint. You could never be Grandpa.
No.
And he used to drive people to like chemotherapy. He used to,
I wouldn't do that.
He drove like a gaggle of Girl Scouts to like sporting events, you know? He would do anything. My grandmother, and he'd say, oh, you need that? I'll take care of it. You know, very, very.
See, I would drive a gaggle of college female soccer players to an event.
They would scare the crap out of you in the first 5 minutes.
I just want to see their ball handling, if you know what I'm saying. And I think we do.
Disgusting.
Goal! So
Score!
it occurs to me now, you're in Greeley, right?
Yes.
And you're going to be walking through Greeley going back to the apartment, the place where you're staying.
I'm crossing the street. I'm not going through like the mountains.
Right, yeah. But here's the deal. Since you're in Greeley, what a better excuse, what a better time than ever to do Greeley. What happened?
I stuck myself with a closet sticker or something. Stick got me. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
I can start some of them, and then I can go in and wipe up the mess that I made across the street. So let's do that.
Okay, so let's do Greeley Crimes and Old Times on Dave's Gone By. Oh.
I'm sure that you.
Oh no, that's the wrong thing. Hold on.
That's the new song.
I set it up so beautiful. Hold, here it is. Hitting the old dweeby. What sound? Oh, that was me clearing my throat. Because I had my usual, rough start to the morning on the show. But okay, this is a segment that we do on Dave's Gone By and have been doing for years now, called Greeley Crimes and Old Times, and it's based on 2 columns that are in our daily news. Well, it comes out 4 days a week now, but our newspaper back home, or our former home, the Greeley Tribune. And there's 2 cool guys there, one of whom is a friend of the Daverhood. His name is Mike Peters, and he does a column every week called 100 Years Ago. And he goes through the newspapers from 1919 and reprints some of the weirdest, coolest, funniest, most nostalgic stories that were published in the Greeley Tribune back then. Plus, we also have our good friend Joe Moylan, and actually he's not a friend of the day. He hasn't been on the show, but Joe Moylan is the crime beat writer for the Greeley Tribune, and he goes through the phone calls that come into Greeley and Weld County Police Dispatch, where I guess it's public record, and he picks out the most ridiculous, funniest phone calls that come in where people are asking for the cops, where they're asking for help. So we mix them up and we call it Greeley Crimes and Old Times. So are you ready to be criminalized and
I'm still inside, but I know about a minute or 2 I think we have
okay. All right, here we go. We're gonna do this. We're gonna start with police responded to 23rd Avenue for a tenant. We're pretty close. A tenant who placed 2 rocks on the caller's car. Now notice, you wouldn't know this, but in the beginning of the show, about half an hour ago, I was talking extemporaneously about Jewish funerals.
Oh, I should see if there's any Greeley crimes and all times in the paper now.
Oh, please do, yeah. But what I'm saying is, and I had mentioned the idea of Jews leaving stones on people's heads, people going in, and you don't leave flowers, you don't pour beer on the thing. You just put rocks and stones on the headstones. And what is the first Greeley crime and all time of the day? People responded to 23rd Avenue for a tenant who placed 2 rocks on the caller's car.
But what does it mean? Like, why were they upset? It must have some kind of meaning.
Well, check this out. The caller said the man had also written insulting curse words on the ground in front of her car.
Yeah, but it's better that they to put it on the car and on the ground
Right,
than
yeah.
they take scrape your car with the key or something.
Right. No, I mean, obviously that's the best possible way to register your difficulties. So remember my famous remember the famous haiku that I found by someone's car parked in
Oh yeah.
I still have it.
You blocked the driveway.
The greatest poem ever. You selfish fuck, you took 2 parking spaces and then dickhead. I will treasure this for. I should frame this.
It didn't have grammatical. I'm in a hallway. That's why you're driving. Right?
Yeah.
It didn't have any grammar, right?
Actually, no. It's pretty grammatical if you leave out the pronoun. Well, one of the pronouns is took 2 parking spaces. Dickhead. Greatest poem ever.
You could give me like 1 or 2 more Greeley crimes all time. I'm gonna have to go.
Yeah. No, it's cool.
Start cleaning that thing.
Okay. All right. Now let's finish up this one though. The next day, police responded again for an erratic tenant who was breaking tree branches and using them to spell out curse words on the lawn.
How do people do this?
Who has the time? Tenant was apparently upset about the neighbor parking in his parking space.
Oh wow, that's not good.
But tree branch writing, man, that's the newest thing. Good Lord, what's going on over there?
Nothing. I'm just rolling out that toweling paper.
Oh yeah.
To clean.
Hey, did you hear about Miss Wales of Severance? Severance, Colorado?
No.
She had a slumber party for the senior girls of Eaton High School on Saturday night.
Nice. That's nice.
The girls said it was the best time they ever had, although they didn't slumber very much.
Aw, that's so sweet.
Yeah. Probably sweet for me to watch, I'll tell you that much.
I think that's how they began to have the best whorehouse in Severance.
Exactly.
You know?
That was, of course, from 1919. Let's do one more, and then I'll let you go and clean up the tea thing and
I'm almost done.
get on with your day.
Just wiping down the area.
Well, police responded to 23rd Avenue Court for a girl walking up and down the street.
Yeah.
And police responded to this.
Well, you shouldn't do that.
Well,
Maybe she was looking for the old slumber party.
well, I think it was just me in heels. Because sometimes a guy just has to get out and do that.
Okay, I clean this up. I can go back in there, and if you want to, the office where it's quiet.
Yeah, let's do 5. Let's get us up till the 10 o'clock hour and do a little quiet Greeley Crimes and Old Times time here on the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the Stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz, every Saturday from 9 until noon or thereabouts. We're in the midst of Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Oh my God. Right now, you know what we need? We actually need, wait, where is it? Hold on. This is exciting, babe. Are you ready?
Yeah, let me go get more towels.
Yeah, be noisy because it's time for an alert. 8th and 8th alert. Oh my goodness, an 8th and 8th alert.
Uh-oh.
Do you want to explain what that means to people?
So 8 and 8 is like infinity times infinity, and it's usually the vortex of things that happen that are a little offbeat.
Pretty much. So 8th Avenue and 8th Street in Greeley, Colorado, you get homeless people, sometimes weird people. It's this goofy thing. And there's a Japanese restaurant right there, but it's still this kind of weird place in Greeley, Colorado. So when things happen on 8th and 8th, we like to do an alert. And we are alerting you to the fact that police responded to 8th Avenue and 8th Street for an intoxicated, heavy-set woman who tried to open the door of a moving semi.
Oh my God!
Right? Not a full, it's just a semi. The caller said
that's so dangerous. She could have been drugged and killed.
No kidding. No, she was probably on drugs and nearly killed. The caller said the woman climbed up onto the semi and asked the driver for a ride. When he said no,
Well, who hasn't done that, you know?
the woman reached in the window, grabbed a towel, and threw it. Okay.
Isn't that when you say I'm throwing in the towel? Isn't that an expression?
Well, yeah, but apparently she didn't give up. She was almost clinging onto the door of the semi-truck that was going by. Wow.
God bless her. Sometimes you have to have, what is it, tenacity. So I'm going back in. It'll be quiet.
Yeah.
Back in the dungeon.
Cool.
But it'll be, I'll tell you what's in the mirror. You want to see what's in the mirror?
Yeah, what's in the wow, they're still publishing the UNC Mirror? They have the money to publish a school magazine?
Yeah, let me get in the office. There's a forgotten award. That's in the mirror.
And actually, the Mirror is, I think it's independently published, but they allow it to be on the campus of the university where Joyce and I, well, Joyce is still a professor and I'm not, but
It says Mary Shetland got an award. That's good.
Mazel.
What'd she get? It's some big award.
Mary was my advisor when I got my master's there. That's totally personal information, but okay.
But they're opening cabaret.
Oh, okay.
And there's a special at Rudy's. You can get a big meat sandwich and a bag of chips for $6.49.
Oh my God! A big meat sandwich at Rudy's? And we're going to Austin instead of Greeley? Oh, man.
And a bag of chips.
And it's all that and a bag of chips.
Oh my God.
Wait, oh, no.
I'm very, very afraid. They say UNC is going to tackle cherry orchard. Please leave the Russians alone. Please leave my Russians
Now, hold on. Maybe it's our friend in the Daverhood, Ken Womble, who directed Three Sisters a couple of years ago.
Somebody's personal messiah. Do not butcher the Russians. Do not butcher the Russians.
At least they're doing it.
I have so little joy in life, David.
Okay.
Don't do Chekhov. If you don't got the chops, don't do Chekhov.
Well, nobody is forcing you to see it.
Let's see. Okay.
Yeah, and he actually did a very nice job with Three Sisters a few years ago. If it's he.
Ken, you better get those accents right or I'll scream.
Oh my God.
Don't butcher the orchard. Don't Chekhov did not write for this.
Fair enough. What else is in our local UNC, well, not local, the school's UNC Mirror?
Yeah, I'm trying to flip it. Oh, hold on. I gotta take off my bag. My back is very sore. Let's see. So, there's a fall dance.
Oh, ew.
November 23rd, 21st, 23rd. Wow, that's a long dance.
It's a marathon. You know, they shoot
It
horses.
says November 21st to 23rd.
Yeah.
And then it says tickets are available. That's a long time to dance. Anyway.
Yeah.
And then it talks about, they talk about Joker, the film. They did a review.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which is scary. I don't like those images. That's too scary. But it's Joaquin.
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix, yeah.
But then they talk about UNC celebration of the mind, mathmagical night. Whoa, that sounds good. And then they say new year, new mirror. The mirror staff, they're seeking people. You could get a mirror job.
I used to do the proofreading for them. Years ago, when I was a student, I was taking my master's degree, and just to pick up a couple of extra bucks, and I do mean only a couple, I would read through the issues. Yeah.
They need a good editor.
Yeah. If I was physically there, I don't know if they let faculty. I would have to take a class or something.
No, you have to be a student.
Yeah. I would have to be matriculating, which is what I like to do in the shower. But you know, oh, ladies and gentlemen, that is my kind of comedy. Yes, my friend. What?
I'm reading this. Let's see.
Whoa. Anything else good in the UNC Mirror?
No, apparently that it's called a Rudy's sandwich deal.
Yes. Tell me more about this.
It's something with barbecue.
Okay, tell me more about this.
And they call it all that in a bag of chips. And then we have the students who are dressed in their cabaret outfits, a little concerning. Yeah. Passing over the cherry orchard again.
Right, yeah. I mean, usually the UNC Mirror is either 4 or 8 pages. It's not this enormous.
Now it's like 12. It's
really?
small. Yeah.
Well done.
Well, they had to fit in that mathmagical night review.
Magical night. No, because I was complaining about I complain about everything, but when we would bring our dog to CSU, Colorado State University, and they're at their vet office, they've got the CSU newspaper. And the CSU friggin' paper comes out like 3 times a week, maybe 5 times a week, and it's 70 pages long. It's full of news and articles and everything. And then I come back to UNC, and they do about 6 issues a year.
It reminds me of the paper they give away free in New York by the subways.
Which I don't even know if that's it. That got sold. AM New York got sold along with Newsday. So maybe they're still doing it, but they have a whole different editorial staff on. Oh, the world is changing, dear.
It's a different place.
Yeah.
The times they are changing.
Yeah. Well, gather around, friends, because you are watching the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, calling in from Greeley, Colorado. We will have, speaking of phone calls, Pete and Maura Kennedy talking to Rabbi Sol Solomon a little later in the program.
I have to tell you a story.
Yeah.
So our friends Friendy so the male part of Friendy, which is Fred, was watching your show.
Yeah.
And then the female part of Friendy called Wendy came in and said, "Oh, that's David. That's David's show." She was making like positive comments. And Fred looked at her and goes, "No, that's Rabbi Sol." And oh my God, I laughed hysterically when Wendy told me that story. She said, I was so happy to see David, and and she was saying nice stuff, and then she's like, Fred just turns and said, "That's not David, it's Rabbi Sol."
Number one fan. Yeah, definitely. Number one fan at this point. And is this wonderful idea that I've created this monster persona person who has taken on a life of his own and is now his own personal being.
Recognized as a separate entity.
Yeah.
That was the more scary part to me. Like he said a very deadpan, like, well, that's not David, that's Rabbi Sol. That's a little concerning.
Maybe Rabbi Sol could become the cult leader who runs the commune. Commune.
Because he's too bitter. Nobody wants that bitterness.
Really? Yeah. He could change his name to Herb and just do it on Passover. Then he could be Bitter Herb. Thank you.
I'm looking for UNC magazine to see what's going on.
Oh, they still do. If they would not publish these glossy, ridiculous that nobody reads, they've got to mail it out to all the alumni. They've got to, put it out there. Probably costs thousands and thousands of dollars to do this nice magazine. They could hire back probably 4 of the professors they shit-canned months ago if they didn't waste their money. No, because this pisses me off too. Like I get daily almost mailings from CSEA, the union to which I now belong, now that I'm working this full-time gig, right? CSEA is our union. They seem to be doing a lot of good stuff and battling management to get us a little more this and keep them from taking a little more of that. So I'm thrilled to be in a union, happy to be part of CSEA, and not always thrilled to look at my paycheck and see what they dock every month for union dues, because it's coming out of that. So okay though, but I don't friggin' need the CSEA monthly magazine bulletin that takes 5 pages telling me how wonderful their previous leader, who is stepping down and retiring, whatever, is, or what? Send me the link. Send me a link by email. I don't need
they do it
to pay for print to do that.
Many people don't have access to your union covers a lot of different occupational classes, so some people don't have the ability to have a computer at work.
But it doesn't matter. It's okay because they don't need to read that. Your leader is stepping. The big effing deal. Okay, if you're going to mail me, so you're going to waste the cost of postage, the cost of printing and paper and people to distribute. Tell me something I need to know about my job, or about what you're bargaining for, or if you're taking a poll of what people who belong to your CSEA really need. Then okay, mail me once a month or something like that. Don't send me like 4 pieces of mail every week. That's where my dues are going. It's going to Uncle Sam's postage. I already work a government job. I'm already taking my salary for taxes. Stop it. Stop. And I'm saying the same to all these, with all these newspapers closing and magazines going away, and yet universities that are drowning financially will still take God knows how much money a year, tens of thousands, to put out a nice looking glossy color magazine about their, mostly the exploits of alumni and what wonderful things they're doing now.
Why? Because nobody tells. It's like a family. You can have dysfunction. Let's say in a family someone has a bad problem,
Mm-hmm.
but to the outside world, that the public face has to be pristine.
Yeah.
So it's like, yay, everything's great, things are beautiful, we're just cool. And then meanwhile, the house is crumbling upon itself. So,
Yeah, but that's what Facebook is for. That's what your website is in this day and age. That's what Twitter's
if you're
for.
an individual person. When you're not an individual person,
Yeah.
And you're an institution, that's what you do.
I guess.
You have to do that. I don't understand it. I think it's just, I'm the type of person, which you probably know, and I hope your viewers know, I'm not about flash over, substance. I think you need to have substance.
Although I do enjoy when you flash me at night. That's kind of hot.
Well, that's different.
Yeah.
That's our private special time you're not supposed to talk about.
Oh, sorry. I'll tell you, that's better than barbecue. I've got to tell you. Much better than, yeah.
You could get takeout barbecue and do both.
Oh, man. Oh,
yes.
My God. I'm sorry. I'm having a moment here. I might need some cleaning. I mean, barbecue and boobs. What does life get better than that?
I think that's the premise of Hooters.
Actually, you're right. I figure somebody thought of that 30 years ago. Barbecue and boobs. It's Hooters. But they have to play like the best music in the world. So you add that in. So it's sensory overload, right? And what else? You appeal to smell, taste, visual, audio.
And I guess you get to foof as much as you want.
That also. That is heaven. Now, you're talking about heaven on earth. Eating barbecue, looking at boobs, hearing the best of the Rolling Stones and Bob Dylan
music,
and Bowie. Yeah. That would be. What else? What else would you possibly? Maybe somebody rubbing your feet and your back.
Oh.
Not necessarily while you're eating, because that could be enough. But the moment you finish eating, there's somebody to give you a nice massage. I would do it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That sounds cool too.
I have thought of the perfect moment on earth where there's nothing in heaven that God could possibly provide that would beat barbecue, boobs, and I don't know, what's a B word for massage? Bamming your body. Body work.
Yeah.
Barbecue, boobs, and body work. And Beagles. And the Beagles. Why are you listening to the Beagles?
Oh, I thought you said a beagle. I was like, in a beagle.
Well, a cute dog.
Oh,
but you don't have to take care of it. It never gets sick. It never barks. It just looks really, really cute. And it feeds you. The dog brings you barbecue.
That would be cute.
There you go. That would be the heaven on earth thing. Oh, I have a question for you.
Okay.
About acupuncture-ish.
Okay.
Sort of
I'm going to have to split.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a kind of acupuncture where they do poke you with the needles, but the needles are connected to electricity? What is that?
It's a different way of doing it. I don't do it, but they could connect all sorts of stuff, like either herbal stuff or electric stuff, I guess. It just depends on what you need. I've not had that, thank God. I would be afraid of being electrocuted. I don't need electroshock. I got my own problems.
No, because I've had the thing, and I enjoy this tremendously, where it isn't needles, where they put the patches on you if your back is hurting, your hips or whatever it is.
Well, in physical therapy, the idea, and I asked them what it was, is that electrical impulse breaks the connection of pain from your brain to the body part that's sore.
Right.
That's what they said that kind of thing is.
Yeah. I don't know if it actually worked, but I really liked the feeling of it when they were doing it. But that is different. There is a different thing where they take acupuncture, actual needles, go under the skin, and that is electrified. That's different. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
ooh. See, that's hell. Needles going into my body. I am needle phobic. He did that. The difference between eating barbecue, looking at boobs, and hearing the Beatles is the opposite of that. Would be needles going into my skin. What would I be eating at the time? I'd be eating anchovies and healthy salad food because I'm the least healthy eater in the world.
Anything remotely healthy,
Listening to Kenny G, and what else? So what would I be looking at? I'm kind of inured to Holocaust imagery, but it would have to be something like I don't know what I would be the visual while I'm eating this horrible food and listening to horrible music. and having needles stuck into my body.
Maybe seeing blood drawn or something.
Oh yeah, that would do
That
it.
would be.
Oh hell yeah, that would be the opposite. That would be my time in hell on earth, which is something we all actually all go through. If you ever go and give blood and they're playing bad music on the thing and you have an ugly doctor, pretty much you're doing all the hell things right there. Needles, watching blood come out, and visual thing and bad music and smell.
Of course.
Well, it smells like a hospital, so that's not the most wonderful smell either.
I know, but I think that
Well,
some of the stuff, they have different modalities. Like our friend got a massage and had cupping. Cupping to me might feel good, but when you see what it looks like on a person, it looks like the person was tortured. Like it's upsetting for me to see it. I know it doesn't.
right.
I know
It's
somewhat painful to the person. I know it's not like searingly painful, but to look at somebody who's had it, it's very, very. It looks very, very raw.
oh
And
yeah,
that
yeah.
You know, it's upsetting. Yeah.
And then or back in the Eastern Europe and whatever, they're called Bankus cups. They put cups on the body, it draws up the blood, and it leaves it with big welty black and blue marks, apparently.
Yeah.
So it does look horrible. Well, then again, if you get surgery, like skin on your skin, you get a horrible scar for a week, but you need it. It's good. It's a good thing that happened. So it's the same kind of.
The only blessing is that people can't see it if it's on their back. You know, like you can't really see it, so you don't know what it looks like.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
You know.
Well, anywho, wow, we've certainly run the gamut here. Let's do.
We've gone way off course.
Let's do one more. Do you want a crime or an old time, and then we'll put this to bed, and then you can go off and do what you got to do.
Let's do a crime, baby.
Let's do a crime. Okay, here we go. We're gonna commit a crime because I've got no fingerprints. Here we go.
That's funny. That's right.
You're
a smooth criminal, honey.
Check this out. See, this is something I could get away with because no scanner will read my fingerprint. An out-of-state what?
I said
an out-of-state resident called Weld County Dispatch to get a restraining order against a Greeley man. The caller accused the man of taking one of his cars and blowing it up.
Whoa.
Do you think we would have heard about this?
I think you would have seen it.
Yeah, right?
You know, yeah.
I know. Okay, that kind of fell flat right there. Maybe let's do
that's not a funny one. That's like a sad one, yeah. Give us a funny one.
Yeah, this is not so funny. A Denverite who was driving his auto. I just love reading these old time stories where they call a car an auto. He was driving an auto at nearly 30 miles per hour through Greeley, was stopped. He was stopped and warned about the speed limits by a Greeley officer. The driver just laughed and drove away. He's now facing a judge in traffic court. So, folks,
that's not good.
You don't want to go 30 in a 12-mile-an-hour zone. You certainly don't.
One of my students got a ticket. It was going 65 or something to 50 or something. It was $92. If she would have gone more, it would have been $300.
Yeah, 62. I mean, if it's a low-trafficked road at night, 62 and I can't believe I'm saying this because I was all through my years of learning to drive. I couldn't imagine even going 5 miles over the speed limit. But I know when we're coming back, when we'd be coming back from Fort Collins, and I hit that turn and I go over towards that basically empty road heading back to Greeley, Colorado, and it's just a straight shot down. And I think the speed limit there is something like 55 or 60, and I'm topping out at 65. Even me, I'm topping out at 65, 70 because it's just beautiful straight drive and nobody around. You know, maybe one or two cars passing the other way. And I'm figuring it's not going to be police will stop me because it's the rate of traffic. I mean, it's not causing any kind of danger, and it's not. That should be the flow of traffic on that road. But
it's like we were talking about, like the student and I, like her thing was it's really for safety. So you can't really complain because you know it's for safety. I mean, they're making speed limits mostly for safety.
Yeah. This is why I always supported it. Well, we would go on. I was the most horrible backseat driver ever because I'd be with my dad when we'd be driving to on vacation and stuff, and my eyes would be on the speedometer. And if he went even 1 or 2 miles over the speed limit, Because we'd be worried, back in the day, especially in the CB radio day, when everybody's like, breaker 19, there's a Smokey on it. So you wanted to warn. So I'm like, you're 2 miles over.
You were like Rain Man, baby.
No, right? It never occurred to me, now that I'm a driver, that sometimes you're driving along in a 30-mile-an-hour thing and it feels like you're going nowhere. And
or you don't really realize.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like now, the GPS or some things will warn you, but there are times when things won't warn you, and you don't realize how fast you're accelerating and then going over stuff.
It's especially if you're coming off a 55 or a 60-mile-an-hour highway, and you turn into a city or suburban street, and there is 30, and you go 65 down 30, you feel like you're going 10 miles an hour. Never realized it. It wouldn't even occur to me when I first taking driving lessons. But it's really true. You feel like you're almost standing still, and you just
you have evolved, Bobby.
I guess. I'm sitting here doing a podcast wearing a ketchup and potato shirt, soon to don a potato costume and do the potato news.
Yeah.
And you're telling me I've evolved?
I think you have.
I should live so long. Well, anywho. I'm so happy to involve you in this program, my darling and adorable wife.
Thank you, my sweet little choo-choo husband.
Okay. I will be very, very happy to see you in lovely downtown Austin, Texas in just a couple of days.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to that tour.
And
I'm thankful that in that conference I have it's only one day, but thank God I have one day when I don't have to. I got a break. I'm so happy. Yeah,
and we get to walk around, and we get to do a tour thing. We get to go eat somewhere. We get to look at the bats, the flying bats of Austin.
Well, our hotel is right near it, so we can see that bat experience probably a couple times a week.
Oh, I hope so. I certainly hope so.
You could fly with them. Maybe you could get your go flying suit.
Oh.
Yeah, and you could do some flying. I think that would be great.
Huh. And do you know off the top of your head, because I was telling Mom about this.
Yeah? What?
And of course, Mom being Mom is like, so you actually want to be in a place where a million bats fly over you? This is something you want to see?
They're non-rabid.
Yeah. But we were wondering, were they the kind of life creature that still does something good? She apparently heard that unlike mosquitoes or something, bats do eat certain bad insects or predatory things. There's a reason God made bats that is not just to bite people or be scary and be in horror movies. So they do something good.
Yeah, I believe they do the lambada. Again, they entertain the children by doing the forbidden bat dance. that bada.
The lambata is what they do. Yeah.
I think the bat bada, that sounds a little more,
But you know why they do it so well?
Why?
Because they don't have to study, they don't take lessons, they don't practice. They're bats, so they just wing it. Yeah.
Someone just came in. Hold on, I heard the door.
I'm just Nosferatu too much. Oh God, I know, folks, I know.
Okay, let me go so I can get going.
Okay, that's my darling wife, Joyce. Love you, sweetie. I'll see you in a couple of days. Thank you, as always, for joining me and us in the Daverhood. I'll see you later. Love you.
Love you, honey. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Joyce in the Daverhood on Dave's Gone By. Sorry about all the background noise and stuff, but, this is part of it. You get this woman who is working on a Saturday part of the day and then going off and doing stuff in Greeley, Colorado, from where we emerged for about 9 years. And now we're doing the show back on Long Island in New York. But very, very happy to be with you in the Daverhood on this Saturday morning. It is November 9th, 2019. We're doing our 720th episode of the Dave's Gone By Facebookio Podcastio Programmio of the Stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz. We've got Rabbi Saul Solomon coming up talking to Pete and Maura Kennedy, the longtime folk singers, occasional songwriters. They're going to be in town on November 21st. So go see them at the Hewlett Woodmere Public Library. They'll be performing, and I do believe tickets are free. And I'm not sure if you have to be a resident. I imagine you can just come in and see a Pete and Maura Kennedy concert. Not too shabby. Let's see, what else do we have on the show? We will have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. I don't think I mentioned that before, where we're going to Becque, Colorado. Becque, Colorado. So that's a Colorado Limerick of the Damned is every week we read a short poem about a place in Colorado. Becque is the one for this week. We will also be going inside Broadway for news and theater reviews, including Broadway reviews of the Tina Turner musical, as well as The Great Society featuring Brian Cox. Plus, we will have our Today, Yesterday segment, which is a quiz. It's a trivia quiz that you get to play along, and you try to figure out what happened on this date, November 9th, in history. But first, let's get out of Greeley crimes and old times and move on to our next segments in the Daverhood.
Greeley was no fool. I'm sure that you'll agree with me that Greeley was no fool.
What he is getting at is that Mr. Greeley was no fool.
Yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi-yi-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi.
Now, I do want to apologize to all of you. Why do I want to apologize for all of you? No, I don't actually. Well, I apologize to Potato. Especially, I apologize right now to Potato for mentioning things like French fries and eating potatoes. So to make up for that, we're bringing back a segment that we haven't done in a couple of weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, very excited to have a brand new installment of the Potato News. In fact, I even have a theme song for that too, because I'm just so prepared. You say potato, I say potato. Let's call the whole thing Potato News. Okay, now the idea of Potato News has to do with is that you can go anywhere and watch the news, 24-hour news channels and news talk opinion channels, and of course you can find out news about all sorts of animals and wildlife and creatures. But is there anywhere a news network for potatoes? Yes, there is. We do it right here on the Dave's Gone By Facebookio Podcastio Programmio of the stream, featuring me, Spudward R. Murrow, with the Potato News for today, November 9th, 2019. On the world front, Time magazine reports that Kurdish residents of northern Turkey, angry over the American military withdrawal from Syria, pelted departing soldiers and tanks with, you guessed it, potatoes. A video by Kurdish news agencies showed a convoy of armored vehicles driving through the northeastern city of Kamishli. Kamishli. Can't get that right. People in the street hurled potatoes at the vehicles, shouting, "No America!" and "America liar" in English. Not the best English, but still, what is so bad, I ask you, about spuds flying through the air and landing on soldiers? After all, what's better than turkey and mashed potatoes? little Turkish joke there. Okay, he doesn't find that amusing. Let's move on to more of Potato News on this November 9th. In politics, could ketchup start a trade war? From Inburst.com comes a story that says that countries often propose tariffs, not on the most valuable items that they trade, since that would hurt them, but rather products iconic with national character. So American ketchup is being targeted both by the European Union and Canada. Canada imposed a 10% tariff on ketchup in July, while saying it would be the next round of their the union is thinking of having it as their next round of retaliatory tariffs. Both countries make a bunch of their own ketchup, But since ketchup has a uniquely American feel, it makes a good target. The irony, of course, is that ketchup is international in scope. Now, Merriam-Webster's defines ketchup as a seasoned puree condiment usually made from tomatoes. In the past, as you all know, it was made from other ingredients. China made a fish-based sauce called ketchup. The British discovered kickaps when they arrived in Singapore, and these Brits tried everything from fermented walnuts to anchovies. By the early 19th century, Americans found the true recipe of ketchup, which was tomatoes sweetened, soured with vinegar, and spiced up with cloves, allspice, nutmeg, and ginger. Now, the first published ketchup recipe came in 1812. I guess there was a war on it. This is better. With H.J. Heinz finally getting in the game 60 years later. Now, like many other products, it became emblematic of American culture because it was quick, easy, convenient, addictive, too sweet but adaptable to any gastronomic context. A quick fix, if you will. Ketchup is also considered a mother sauce, serving as the base for barbecue sauces, cocktail sauce, Russian dressing, and the dreaded mayo chop. Not a fan. Again, though thought of as American, ketchup is used all over the world. Some countries put it on pizza. The Philippines have a banana ketchup, and Canada even makes a sweet ketchup cake. The U.S. Is the world's biggest exporter of ketchup to the tune of $380 million. $380 million! That's the tune of $380 million. And a lot of that to Canada, which may suffer from a ketchup shortage. A trade war it would be, and war is hell. Dateline, Pittsburgh. Sandwich makers, the Primanti brothers, have devised a magnificent way to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Heinz. This week, outside the eatery, they have posted a 12-foot-tall overturned bottle of Heinz ketchup. Quote, "We've been serving Heinz ketchup since the beginning in 1933, said Tony Haggerty, who has worked at the restaurant for more than 40 years. From the original location all the way to our newest openings, it is only Heinz. And that's the way it will be for 150 more years." Now, if you go to the Primanti restaurant and pose with the giant ketchup bottle, and if you post a photo to social media using Flip for Heinz with a hashtag, you can win a $150 gift card at the restaurant. Count me in. Dateline, London, England. This story comes from Metro UK. We all know somebody who loves condiments a bit too much. No such thing. Okay, this is not a call and response potato. This is the important news here. The one who drowns their roast dinner in ketchup, but are condiment cupcakes a bit too far? Heinz has teamed up with a famous Hummingbird Bakery to create a range of cakes. Cupcake flavors include ketchup, beans, mayo, salad cream, and tomato soup. Each of the 6 Hummingbird Bakeries branches in London is giving away 25 cupcakes for free, first come, first served. Otherwise, they're £3.50 each. Oh, I'm heading to the UK. U is for unbelievable. K is for ketchup. Yeah. Okay. Do I have to call the guards? Do I have to take you off the show? Be good. Excuse me, folks. Continuing with the potato news, if I can find it. Spudward Armuro here, wading through his notes. This is just wonderful radio, isn't it, folks? There we go. Maybe that is not the whole potato news. It can't be. Here we go. Dateline, China, or more specifically, China by way of Brooklyn. Allison Robicelli, a writer for thetakeout.com, did a recent article about how growing up in Brooklyn with Italians, it was heresy to eat spaghetti with ketchup. She thought that way too, until she went to Chinatown and frequented a restaurant called the Hong Kong Cafe. She writes, You know how a lot of Chinese takeout food in America is not really Chinese? Well, in Hong Kong, American takeout is not really American. It's a glorious amalgamation. Oh, love that word. Amalgamation of cuisines through centuries of trade and immigration. The recipe Robicelli shares in her article is seared pork chops and melted cheese laid over a bed of spaghetti with sweet ketchup-spiked sauce. In Asian kitchens, ketchup isn't a mere substitute for tomato sauce. Oh no, it's an ingredient, not much more than tomato paste and vinegar with a little bit of sugar. So why wouldn't it be a mother sauce, if you will? What's controversial about that? Now, finally, an appreciation from the British website Twisted Food. Some like it spicy, some like it sweet, but by and large, everyone agrees ketchup is awesome. Yes, you can agree, potato. I agree, potato. Scientists have discovered that something particular to ketchup keeps us coming back time and again. It's a matter of taste. Our perception of taste is made up of 5 sensory sensations, separate sensations: sweet, salty, bitter, sour, and the elusive umami, which translates to savory deliciousness. Oh, mama, umami! Remarkably, ketchup is one of the only foods on this earth that hits all 5 sensations. That is why scientists have dubbed ketchup the perfect food. And of all the ketchups, Heinz is the one that comes closest to perfection. Today's potato drawing numbers are 14, Evelyn Wood, 187, 14, Spina bifida, 14. This has been Spudward Armuro with the Potato News. Good night and good growth.
This is the potato song, man. The most beautiful song in the entire world. Potatoes are so beautiful to me. I love potatoes. I can put ketchup on them, eat them at McDonald's. I love potatoes. They're normally brown outside. Potatoes are really good. I feed them to my children like I should because they like them a little bit too, even though I force feed them. I love potatoes. I love potatoes.
Yeah, you think the guy loves potatoes? Just a little bit? Just found that song this morning and very proud to share it with you because that's also my heavenly music. When I'm watching boobs and eating barbecue and not listening to the Beatles, I want to hear that guy sing about potato. Oh my God, we just lost a viewer while I was playing that song. Oh my goodness. By the way, that music, that was not Pete and Maura Kennedy. Just letting you know right there. That song was, I don't know who, I didn't note down who is singing that, but I promise you, you're going to enjoy hearing Pete and Maura Kennedy just a little bit later in the Dave's Gone By broadcast. We also have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned and our Today Yesterday quiz. It's about 10:30 in the morning Eastern time here in the Daverhood. I do want to remind you that Hewlett Minuteman Press has been one of our sponsors since the very, very first show back in October of 2002. Hewlett Minuteman, the copy kings of Broadway. So this is the place. You got single-sided black and white copies, they can do that. Do you need double-sided copies, color, laminated pages? Do you need your logo or design on a, on a mug or on sporting equipment or on uniforms or on pen and pencil sets or golf balls or whatever, big banners and Mylar balloons? Hewlett Minuteman Press can help you get your company's image and logo out there on calendars, on any possible thing that will help you grow your brand. They're located right in the heart of Hewlett, Long Island. They're across the street from that giant Petco, and they're there 5.5 days a week. The wonderful Toron family, which has owned and operated this franchise of Minuteman in Hewlett, Long Island, since the mid-1970s. And best of all, if you tell them Dave sent you, you get 10% off any job, big or small. So give them a call, 516-569-5577. Area code 516-569-5577. Hewlett Minuteman Press. They are the copy kings. Well, I always say that I feel king of the world when I do this program. One of the things that I also feel almost royal, because you have to be kind of rich to see so much of the theater that I get to see, because I'm in this kind of business, so I'm lucky that way. Well, I do go to the theater, and I write plays, and I've written about the theater, and therefore I like to do a segment every week talking about the theater and reviewing some shows, and I call that Inside Broadway. Inside Broadway, a look at theater on and off Broadway and beyond. Brought to you by Total Theater and Performing Arts Insider. Curtain going up. Yes, inside. Stop it. Oh, there we go. Couldn't get the iTunes to stop playing that there. But yes, we're here. Why? Let's get that back. Much better. Inside Broadway we go to talk about the Great White Way. They're going to have to change the name of that to be politically correct at some point. The white, I think, just referred to all the glowing marquees and the bulbs and the insane brightness back in the day in the 50s and 60s of the Broadway marquees before it just became a truly multicolor with all the other kinds of billboards and banners that they have out there. But yes, the Great White Way of Broadway. I want to do two different related stories for you. I want to remind you that Tracy Letts's play, The Minutes. Now, this was supposed to be coming to Broadway about a year or two ago, and they were trying to figure it out and get the right theater. They found it. So the new Tracy Letts play, The Minutes, will be opening in March. It'll be a spring opening at the Court Theater. That is where Darren Brown's Secret is currently playing. I think I reviewed that on here, where Darren Brown is this mentalist, and I did tell you all about it. So that's running, I think, until early January. And then when that closes, they're going to load in this new play by the Tony and Pulitzer Prize winner, Tracy Letts. He's the guy who wrote August Osage County and Bug. And another show that I better check and make sure before I give you some wrong information. I just want to make sure. Sorry about this. Let's make sure it's But anyway, Tracy Letts wrote this show, The Minutes, and it's all about a comedy drama about a town hall meeting in this small town. And first, people are very nice and courteous and good with each other, as they tend to be when they're neighborly and talking about issues, and then all sorts of bad things, backstabbing goes on. If there's a way that a lot of Tracy Letts plays tend to go, they start out very funny, almost sitcom-y, and then they kind of get darker and darker, and the way people behave is worse and worse and worse. So it's called The Minutes, and it's going to feature, they've also got the cast there, Sally Murphy and Ian Barford, who are both currently starring in Letts's other new play, Linda Vista, at Second Stage Theater. I'm going to tell you about that too. And Jesse Mueller, who was in both Beautiful, the Carole King musical, as well as Waitress. So they're going to be the three key stars. And, oh my God, this is a little early to do this, but I guess we can do this already. It's an Austin Pendleton alert. Austin Pendleton is also going to co-star in this play, The Minutes, as well as a couple of long-term Chicago Steppenwolf actors, because this is a Steppenwolf production. It will be opening for a limited run in March at the Court Theater, directed by Anna D. Shapiro, The Minutes by Tracy Letts. And it's perfect timing to talk about this, because that other show I mentioned, Linda Vista, which I reviewed on here a couple of weeks ago, that is ending its limited run tomorrow. So you have only 3 more chances to catch this play, directed by Dexter Bullard on Broadway. And I highly recommend it. I like the play quite a lot. I think it's my favorite overall Tracy Letts play. It has to do with this guy who's newly divorced. He's got a kid. He moves into like this rather run-down, single guy, hopeless compound, kind of apartment complex. And he's just trying to go back to dating again. And he's got a friend that he deals with and goes out to dinner with and plays racquetball with. So this is him dealing with three different women, a couple of different women in his life. And he's increasingly terrible and miserable to all three of them. Well, to two of them, he's terrible. One of them is not so great to him, which kind of gives him a comeuppance. But it's really about this kind of hopeless man who is a nice guy at first, but his own self-hatred and his own hopelessness and helplessness starts making him more and more impossible to deal with. But although there is a glimmer of hope at the end of the play, it is essentially a comedy, albeit a dark one. Very, very well worth seeing. It's called Linda Vista, and it's at the Helen Hayes Theater just for 3 more performances. Do go see it. Okay, should you go see the big new musical that's probably going to be a big audience hit? It opened just a couple of days ago at the Luntfontein Theater. There she is, folks. What's Love and Tina got to do with it? Brand new musical called Tina, the Tina Turner musical, and I think she's even one of the producers in the show. So she comes off pretty well in this big, splashy, jukeboxy bio musical about her life. It's got a book by kind of acclaimed playwright Katori Hall, who co-wrote with Frank Ketelaar and Keys Prins. I do not know who they are. And it's directed by Felida Lloyd with choreography by Anthony Van Lost. Okay, bunch of names coming at you. What is Tina Turner, the musical, like? Well, it tells her basic story of growing up being a child who is not really wanted by her mother, who doesn't see really anything good in her. So she comes from domestic dysfunction, including a violent home life with her mom and dad, gets out of that, starts trying to have some sort of singing career while also trying to make enough money to live. Who does she wind up with? Who does she hook up with? This talented guy, seminally talented guy named Ike Turner, who is, all the chicks dig him. He's suave, he's really good looking, he's a musical talent, right? So he's just got everything, and he looks like he's going places. So he brings her into the band because he hears her and he's like, oh man, she can sing. But he's also the jealous type and the druggy type, as we all know. So once she's in the band, her boyfriend, he's got to be out of the picture, and Ike is really perhaps the worst husband in the history of the universe, or at least the way this musical makes him out to be, and I imagine Tina Turner's autobiography. One of the funny things about the libretto, the book to this musical, that shouldn't be funny, is the way Ike is depicted in the show for the most part. You want to get the point across that he is an abusive, basically evil man. Whether he's on drugs or not, but especially when he's on drugs, he is a violent, kind of crazy man. Okay, fine. How do you demonstrate that? There's an early scene, like the first time she meets him in a rehearsal hall when he's with his band, and he does something kind of violent that she witnesses, but she writes it off and says, oh, he's just passionate about his music. And that's why he gets mad and he throws something and he does this. And then, okay, since we already know Tina Turner's life and we know the history, it's like, hey girl, stay away from him. Stay in his band, keep away from him. Okay, we can't shout at the stage, although today audiences do whatever the hell they want when they're watching Broadway shows. But okay, we know she's going to go with him, and we know she might sing You Better Be Good to Me, but he's not going to be good to her. Next scene, we see them together, things are okay, and then before the end of the scene, 3 minutes later, he smacks her. Expected. We get it. he's abusive. Next time he's on stage in a scene with her, and they talk for a bit, he smacks. It's like 5 different scenes that all end the same way with him smacking her. And I do not doubt that Tina had an absolutely horrible time being in this codependent, addicted relationship to Ike Turner, that she couldn't get mentally, she was a prisoner, and Stockholm Syndrome and all that. I do not doubt that he was frequently scary and abusive, but I would have to figure that he was more scared, because if he hits you, well, he might hit you again for another 6 months or something like that. You just live in fear. But when you're telescoping everything into a musical story, you don't have to see every single time. It's almost as if I were to say, oh, Ike Turner. Oh, Ike Turner's coming on the stage. He's going to smack her. And 5, 4, 3. Oh, he did it early. Yeah, it's kind of, we get it. We know he's scary. We know he's a horrible creep. She's got to get away from him. We don't need again and again. It almost becomes cartoonishly comic when he is doing that. And it does follow the typical path of a bio musical. She's abused at home. She's abused with her husband. She finally, middle of the act, she breaks free of him. She said, "That's it. I am done. You know, you've hit me in front of our kid. You're going after our kid now. I am leaving with nothing." It's in a way, it's the Ronnie Spector story, but 10 times worse. And there's actually a really good scene in the first act with Phil Spector. And this is it should be the highlight of the show. And it almost is, when Tina, not with Ike has been barred from the room. Tina gets to go into the studio and record what is maybe the greatest single pop music recording in history. And I really, I do not say this with any trepidation. River Deep, Mountain High. It was Phil Spector at the absolute peak of his wall of sound powers, and Tina Turner just singing like crazy. I mean, if you've never heard River Deep, Mountain High, it's one of the most extraordinary recordings ever. And we get to see her doing it. It sounds amazing. And Adrienne Warren as Tina Turner sounds amazing while doing it. And it's a thrilling moment. And really, all you're seeing, that's the beauty of theater, man, for the first part of the song. All you see her is against the wall of a record studio, Phil Spector above her in the control room, and just kind of manipulating the wires and bobbing his head and nodding his head and knowing, that this sounds this, let's bring this up. That's all you need to see as she's blasting this magnificent song. And then for no good reason, because I guess they need to put a button on it, they start projecting, as one critic put it, these lava lamp colors behind her for the last verse of the song. And it's distracting and unnecessary and pointless. Our eyes are on Tina Turner when she is singing River Deep, Mountain High. We don't suddenly need kaleidoscopic colors flashing behind her. Stop that. Who approved that? So if I'm getting mad, it's because there are points during this whole show, this 2-hour and 45-minute musical, where you're just sort of like, okay, it would be fine. You're overdoing so much. Tell the story. It's a good story of a woman who has nothing, rises to some level of fame with her husband, then goes back to literally nothing, cleaning toilets in the daytime, and then going off to try and sing and make a couple of bucks at night in Vegas and doing go-go stuff. And then, rising up to playing hundreds of thousands of people at Wembley Stadium in London, right? I mean, there's your arc. There's your arc. It's the behind the music arc made live with, of course, the great songs. I did not even think or remember that Ike and Tina Turner did a version of the Sly and the Family Stone song, I Want to Take You Higher, which is one of the pinnacles of the Stone, the Family Stone, of their career. I always heard their version. I didn't even know that Ike and Tina covered it like a year later and did a very good job with it. So that's a highlight of this show, of hearing that song. I said, oh yeah, they rock it. And they do it basically like Sly and the Family Stone did as well. It's good to hear those songs. I'll be honest, I admire Tina Turner tremendously. Her solo work is catchy. It's not the music that I particularly listen to. I don't have any Tina Turner albums. I'll hear What's Love Got to Do With It on the radio and I'll bop it. Not my kind of music. So it's good to hear that stuff in the second act. I'm more into the earlier bluesy, Ikey, Tina-y stuff back then. And then, but the story of the second act, you've got the arc that it follows rather expectedly. And then you get through 2.5 hours of it, and there is some interesting stuff. Perhaps the most, I don't know if subtle is a word that you can put with this musical, but the deepest part of the storytelling in Tina that the playwright Katori Hall does is between Tina and her mother. Because, you know, you would figure, oh, Alicia's got her mother in her corner, or her mother realizes the error of her ways and not loving Tina enough when she was little, and now that Tina's all successful, she's like, I show you, I'm this big, great star. And there's a very good scene in the late second act between Tina and her mom, the hospital deathbed scene, etc. And it doesn't go the way that you expect. And that is the most surprising and interesting scene, really, in the whole show. That doesn't have to deal with developing music and figuring out a song and figuring out that insane triple time choreography that the Ikettes and Tina used to have to do. So 2.5 hours of the musical goes by, entertaining, some good, as I've said, some bad, clap, clap, clap. Oh, I'm ready to go home now. Glad to hear some of these songs. Thanks so much. But then the dreaded moment comes, as it does in all these kinds of musicals, when they say, oh, when the actress says, don't go home. No, I'd like to do a couple more songs for you right now. I cannot imitate Tina Turner to save my life, but I'm just going to do a couple more songs for you. And, you know, me, I'm like, okay, all right, 2.5 hours, it's a 2 o'clock musical. I've heard 12.5 songs already. Fine, go for it. Let's see what you got. And in those last 10 minutes of Tina Turner, or Tina, the musical story of Tina Turner, she blows the friggin' roof off the theater. Now, understand, I'm not a fan of this kind of thing. You know, I remember seeing Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat the last time that they revived that on Broadway. And they ended it with the Joseph Mega Mix, where essentially for 15 minutes, they took every song in the damn show, truncated it, threw it all together, had the whole cast out there singing all the songs in a sing-along with the audience and the dancing along. I'm like, let me the hell out of here. And they do that with so many shows now. They want to leave you on a high, so they're going to, bring those songs back, do them again, Well, wasn't looking forward to that at the end of the Tina show. But she does Proud Mary, and I forget the other one that she does. But whatever reserves of voice and energy actress Adrienne Kennedy has, how she gets through 2.5 hours where she's on stage, most of the scenes she's in there, and some scenes she's singing her lungs out. And then after 2.5 hours of that, think of it, 6 times a week, because 2 times a week they have an alternate, she then has to come out for 10 minutes and be even more energetic, more thrilling in her vocals, and more exciting in her movements and her dance and her costuming and everything, and she is. She just, but when you're standing up there, okay, encore time, and then within a minute or two, you're like, holy crap. This is like watching the very best Tina Turner concert you could imagine back in 1986. And it's just all in front of you, and it's perfectly done. So literally, the part of the musical that I usually like the least is the part I like the most of Tina, and the thing that makes it an absolute, yes, you should go see it. Don't leave. I don't care if you've got a babysitter, or if you're double parked or something like that, or it's going to cost you an extra $10 at the parking garage. You do not want to leave before the curtain calls, before the encores, because the encore is spectacular. And so therefore, I'm going to give Tina a very solid 3 stars, 4 stars for the encore. Do absolutely, yes, it is worth seeing. I liked it better than the Cher show. Not quite as much as Carole King, Beautiful the musical, but that had music that was more to my taste and kind of a cuter, more fun story to tell. But either way, Tina the Musical on Broadway, see for yourself. It is at the Lunt-Fontanne Theater. And here's what some of the other critics, because it just opened a couple of days ago. Johnny Oleksinski of the New York Post, he liked it quite a lot. He gave it 3 stars out of 4. And basically all the reviewers going crazy for this new Broadway star, Adrienne Warren. She's going to be one of the people to beat for the Tony Award this year. She has that smoky but booming voice, the Jupiter-sized charisma, and those high-energy dance moves. Yeah, it's a by-the-numbers musical, but during that exuberant final concert, Warren isn't just rolling on the river, she is stampeding through Broadway. Chris Jones, writing for the New York Daily News, I imagine also for a Chicago paper. It's a towering and generally phenomenal performance. Some parts of the show are muddy, and the Ike scenes, as I said, they border on the cartoonish. But boy, oh boy, Adrienne Warren. Marilyn Stasio of Variety, she loved everything. The music is fantastic, the staging is deluxe, and Warren is sensational. And Robert Hoffler, writing for The Wrap, he concentrates, interestingly enough, his whole review is couched around that relationship between Tina and her mother, played by Dawn Lewis. These are the strongest scenes, while the rest try to cover too much ground. He isn't crazy about Philia Lloyd's direction, and he too had some problems with the projections and the overdone stuff that Jeff Sugg is doing with the visuals. So ultimately, though, when it comes to Adrienne Warren as Tina Turner, huge raves on at least that piece of Tina on Broadway. Hey, I want to remind you, if you want to read tons of Broadway reviews and off-Broadway and off-Broadway regional theater, international theater, and festivals for free, go to totaltheater.com. Totaltheater.com. You can go to the Criticopia section and click on either what's playing right now, brand new, that shows that are still running, that you can go see, or the archives go back years, thousands of reviews that you can find and read if you want to peruse, if you're a theater student, if you're just a theater aficionado or a scholar. Totaltheater.com is a great place to go, so please do go there. Okay, I do have a little more time, just a little, to do this Inside Broadway segment and let you know about another show that opened about a month ago already, a couple of weeks ago. I finally got a chance to see it up at Lincoln Center's Vivian Beaumont Theater. And let me tell you, if you want to talk about something to do for free, when was the last time, I'm sure I'm talking to a bunch of New Yorkers, and it would have been like, oh, 3 weeks ago. But for most of you, or you out-of-towners, when was the last time you actually went up to Lincoln Center? For me, this is the most beautiful place in New York. Central Park is nice. I guess, I mean, I'm talking about the main part. West 4th Street is fun. The 50s and the Broadway district is exciting, but there's something about the beauty, the man-made beauty of Lincoln Center, that perfect, beautiful building, the theater building tucked off into the corner there, the reflecting pool that then has the, and also the fountain that's nearby, that Max Bialystock and Leo Bloom were romping around in the producers. There's just no place in New York. And I try to do this now, because usually I'm running to and from the theater. I've always got to get back on the Long Island Railroad, get back to 34th Street, get home while I still can make a train or don't have to wait another hour for a train. So I'm zipping into theaters and I'm zipping out of theaters as soon as I can. But with Lincoln Center, if I can, I try and take like 30 seconds when I'm coming out of the theater at the end of a show at night, usually when I go there at night, to just turn around and look at what Lincoln Center looks like. It's the most, daytime, it's nice. Nighttime, it is the most beautiful place on earth. It is, in some ways, a temple dedicated to the arts and looks like one. Well, it looks like one ought to. It's a Taj Mahal of theater and opera and music, and I guess perhaps dance. So whatever show you see there, you get the privilege of being in New York and going to Lincoln Center. There's nothing quite like it. But I went to Lincoln Center to see The Great Society, the new play by Robert Schenkan. Now, Schenkan, he's been shit-canned in a way by Broadway, in a certain sense. He's a tremendously talented writer. I believe he won, I'll tell you right now, I can find his bio for you. But he had the bad luck to be coming up in the theater and writing plays and getting them on Broadway just when Tony Kushner was doing Angels in America. So Angels in America got all the good ink, and Robert Schenkan, who was doing his epic series called The Kentucky Cycle, about 15, 20 years ago, that people were saying, oh, it's sort of old school theater. It's in the Arthur Miller mode. It's a little obvious, a little on the nose of how America was won by chicanery and trickery and guns, which is as valid and important a story historically to tell as is the gay experience in 1980s New York. But Shin Kang, he isn't quite as deep as Kushner, etc. So Kushner gets all the huzzas and Shin Kang gets produced, but not really the respect I think that he deserves. And he wrote another play about a year ago, 2 years ago maybe, called All the Way. And it was looking at the presidency of Lyndon Baines Johnson. Johnson, who came in with the aspiration to be the best president ever. And I'm sure a lot of presidents wanted it. Trump probably wanted to be, expected to be, knowing him, the best president ever. But LBJ had a shot, okay? He was coming out of 50s America, post-war. We had become a superpower. Industry was booming. I mean, yeah, there were problems in America, but those problems could be solvable because white people were doing so well. He could bring up the poor. He could bring up the underclass. He could put through democratic ideals in what he would call the Great Society. And the first thing that he concentrated on was race. So that first play that he wrote about LBJ's presidency when he first takes over from the assassinated John Kennedy is trying to get a Civil Rights Voting Act done. And the whole really, really interesting, quite exciting political play, All the Way, which was on Broadway with Bryan Cranston playing LBJ, was about the negotiations that he had to go through, LBJ did, with the Southern senators, the Dixiecrats, the other Democrats, the North, the South, playing those politicians that he has to be very careful with to have their support, not to lose them, but trying to say, why can't Black people vote? Things have to change. We have to stop segregation in the South, and trying to ease them along and change the law and make new legislation while dealing with an increasingly impatient, for a good reason, Black community led by Martin Luther King. So he's there trying to say, Martin, I'm trying you see what I want to do, but I can't snap my fingers and make voting rights legal everywhere. I can't just integrate schools like that. I can't just let people march or do whatever. It takes finesse, it takes politics, it takes time, it takes making deals and compromises on both sides. I need you guys to be, to ease back and let me do the deals. But of course, he's getting pushed and pulled both ways. And yet, it ends on a note of triumph, that first play did, because even though it was truncated, even though he had to strip it to the point where it was almost, but not quite, meaningless, he got his voting legislation through. And LBJ, after all that deal making, felt like, aha, the first cornerstone of my Great Society idea. Now, Shin Kang has this thing to do 3 plays about LBJ's life. And he didn't actually do something about his childhood or coming up in politics. He takes it right from the presidency in the first play. And then in the second play, it's about him getting reelected and feeling a mandate from the people, like, okay, I'm reelected. I can do my Great Society now. And we're doing great. There's a surplus of money. There's $1 billion or so that I can implement to have healthcare reform. All right? 50 years ago, trying to fix healthcare, to have education reform, to integrate things, et cetera, and so forth. He's got it. He feels it. And if he feels powerful, he feels that mandate, he's got the money, what could possibly go wrong? Well, there's some problems in a little country, 2 countries actually, far, far away, in a place called Vietnam. And Bob McNamara, who is the villain of one of the villains of the piece, he's saying, we've kind of got to tamp this down, or else the communists are going to take over Vietnam, and they're a satellite of Russia, and we're in the Cold War, and you can't let this happen. So What should I do? Says LBJ. Don't want boots on the ground. I don't want to send soldiers there. We've had World War II, and just the cost of men and the cost of keeping men there, the monetary cost, is going to affect my policies, right? And Bob McNamara said, no need. Just do some airstrikes. Just let the Vietnamese know we mean business. They'll come to the table and negotiate. And at that moment, it's that moment in all tragedies, really, when the hero makes one decision and then has to follow it through. And of course, the rest of the show is taking that forward. It's saying, here's what Lyndon is trying to do to concentrate on his domestic agenda. And here is how Vietnam keeps pulling and pulling and pulling it away. And it's sometimes it's a little, for people who aren't politically oriented, Shankan, the author, just throws you into the mix of this phone call from this person, and LBJ wants to talk to them and invites them in and talking. It takes a while to get your bearings of all the people involved. It's got a pretty wide focus in the show, because especially in this second installment, Martin Luther King has as big a part almost as Lyndon does. So we're following his story too, of the Black community and what they're dealing with in the South and then in the North, of why there's, or the West, I should say, why is there race rioting in Watts, even though things are getting better for the Blacks all over the country because of the policies that Lyndon is trying to institute. And so we're following that. We're also following Lyndon, realizing now that, he wants to end Vietnam. He wants to bring peacekeepers to the table. And yet, month after month, week after week, and we see the tally of the dead and wounded in Vietnam as we do more bombing, as we start to have advisors, as we start to have boots on the ground. And suddenly the death count goes into the thousands. And all the money, the billions of dollars that Lyndon, I want to tell you you know how it ends if you know American history, but it's that part of the show, which is most of the show, is galvanizing, it's interesting, it's disheartening, it's fascinating. And one of the cool things, Bryan Cranston is not playing Lyndon in this iteration, it's Brian Cox, a very, very good actor. So he is now taking over the role of Johnson, and he is less Johnson-like, and it's less, I would say, a less engaging performance on some level. Everybody yells a lot in the show. Tonga is directed at this level because I guess the director worries that things will get boring if we bog down in just pure political conversation. I don't think it would, but he still is like, everybody's all the time, including LBJ. And you don't get that sense of the good old boy cajoling, friendly, joking LBJ that he had to be to try and deal with all the sides he's been dealing with. He basically is yelling at everybody from the beginning of the show on. But what Brian Cox does capture beautifully is the shrinking of the man and the negativization of LBJ. Because he starts with such hope and such promise of this re-election, and even dealing with trying to keep a majority during the midterm elections. And then as Vietnam and the troubles back and forth just weigh him down and down and down, and you see him physically deteriorate, mentally deteriorate. He becomes really actually paranoid in a lot. He can't trust anyone. Can't trust Hubert Humphrey, his aide-de-camp. He feels he can trust Martin Luther King, and then Herbert Hoover puts a bug in his ear. I'm sorry, not Herbert Hoover, J. Edgar Hoover, excuse me, puts a bug in his ear that no, you can't trust MLK, and you can't, and it's just, he doesn't know where to turn. He doesn't know whom to trust, so he distrusts everybody, and is having files on everybody, and is paranoid, and is just beaten down by the death count. At the beginning of the play, he's writing personal letters to all the families of servicemen who have died in Vietnam, because it's only, maybe half a dozen a week at that point in the early 60s. And then 67, it's like, it's just a massive number, and it's a form letter kind of thing. And when Bob McNamara, in a scene that doesn't quite necessarily work, McNamara comes to understand what he set into motion and the tragedies for which he, almost more than anybody else, is responsible, right? For just bad advice, bad idea that seemed right at the time. So, but that is the other fascinating part of the play. I love the back and forth, the politicking. It's sort of, if you've seen, speaking of Tony Kushner, the movie Lincoln, it's that same sort. That's what makes Lincoln such a great movie to watch, because Lincoln has to make this deal here and that deal here and make sure they're keeping their promise and changing that promise and going over here. Same thing with these LBJ plays by Robert Schenkan, but also the personal story, the downfall of a president's ideas, his policies, his ability to do what he has to do, and also the downfall of the man sliding mentally and physically into, a place where he, rather sadly, should not have gone, where he could have been absolutely one of the great presidents ever. And my big gripe, really, with this production, with the play, I should say, is that I mentioned that the play spends a lot of time on Martin Luther King. He's the Ado Annie, if you will, of the Great Society. And yet, he and Bobby Kennedy, and Bobby Kennedy plays a prominent role. Speaking of Kennedys, since Pete and Maura will be here in a couple of minutes, when I'm not giving anything away to let you know that they don't meet a good end in life or in this play, but it's really sloughed over very quickly. You feel as if about 15 minutes has been sliced from the play rather indiscriminately to get from a certain point to suddenly, LBJ decides not to run and Nixon's in the White House. And then there's just a moment or two of saying goodbye in a way to both Bobby Kennedy, who were, Kennedy was kind of an enemy. MLK was a frenemy, if you will, or a friend for a while. But so much was put into the currency of these friendships and sparring relationships that it's kind of weird that those are just like, oh, they're dead. Sort of sad. It feels truncated there. And since the show is already, it's 2.5 hours, that goes very quickly. I don't think Schenkan would have been so badly off if there's a director's cut of the Great Society where it can put some of that stuff back in. I think it would be a better play. But I'm certainly recommending it. I'm giving it 3.25 stars for, as I said, the Great Society at the Vivian Beaumont Theater on Broadway. Definitely go see it. And it's a limited run. I think you have only until the end of November, on November 30th, at the Vivian Beaumont Theater up in beautiful Lincoln Center. Very well recommended. I mean, people, the overall reviews for the show are saying it's a little too talky, it doesn't have enough, the focus is a little too split, and it's not as good as All the Way was. No, it's not quite as good, but boy, oh boy, I was happy to be there and totally engaged all the way through. So I am absolutely recommending The Great Society on Broadway at the Vivian Beaumont Theater. And that will take us out of this segment, which is called Inside. What happened to my noise machine? Oh no. Oh, I need my applause meter. Ladies and gentlemen, that takes us out of Inside Broadway. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is 11:15 Eastern Time in the Daverhood. You're watching the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the Stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz. We have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned coming up. We have our Today, Yesterday quiz coming up, Friends of the Daverhood. Still more to do on the show, but most importantly, oh boy, Rabbi Saul Solomon is going to be with us in about a minute to talk to two very talented folk musicians and rock musicians as well, Pete and Maura Kennedy. They're going to be coming to our neck of the woods here on Nassau County, Long Island. They're going to be playing a local library here, the Hewlett-Woodmere Public Library, on November 21st. That is a Thursday night. Plus, they've also got a bunch of other places that they're playing locally in November and December. They gig a lot in the tri-state area during holiday time. And also, Pete Kennedy's written a memoir called Tone, Twang, and Taste that you can get via Amazon. They've got a CD called Safe Until Tomorrow. They're always doing something, but what they're doing right now is talking to Rabbi Sol Solomon on Dave's Gone By.
Get too many days of rain. Looks like it's gonna flush your cane. All the problems gone to sea. Little southern sun's already. So pour a little pepper on the floor. Turn the gears on that old summer jumbo. Tighten those nickel strings. How many people who love us to sing.
Oh, shalom, my friends, shalom, my enemies. This is your old pal, Rabbi Sol Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And I, being a not only New Yorker, but a Long Islander, I am delighted to mention that today I will be talking to a pair of musicians who will be playing on Long Island. As a matter of fact, they're going to be on the South Shore on Thursday, November 21st. You can see Pete and Maura Kennedy playing at the Hewlett-Woodmere Public Library in Hewlett/Woodmere. There's a weird borderline between those two towns. They're literally going to be standing on the border between Hewlett and Woodmere. So, and it's going to be weird where they put the chairs. But you can go see them on that Thursday. Oh, good, they're laughing already. This is making me very happy. But these musicians have been at it. Pete Kennedy has played with everyone from Nancy Griffith to Mary Chapin Carpenter to our friend in the Daverhood, Tom Paxton, Sleepy La Beef, which is one of the greatest names in history. And they've been playing together for so long. Let them keep laughing because we have with us in the Daverhood, the Kennedys. Shalom! Oh, shalom. So how are you guys doing? I look at your itinerary and every single day, you guys are somewhere else, some other city, some other place. How do you do that year after year without getting a little bit tired?
No, we love it. We get tired when we're standing still. So for us, travel is what keeps us energized.
Very nice. Very so. How long you guys are married, right? You have a shidduch. You guys are together, married, yes?
We are married. Yes.
Mit Mazel Miklich. How long?
How long? 25 years.
Boy, did you do anything amazing for your silvery anniversary thing?
You know, we did. We, as you say, we travel all the time playing gigs, and we very, very rarely have any time to take vacation. But this year, we actually carved out 10 days in our schedule, and we went to Italy, and we hiked for 10 days.
Ooh. And how was it? Did you go to a place where there wasn't a lot of slopage, so it was kind of easy walking? No.
No, it was horribly hard walking.
Oh.
In fact, after 10 days, we weren't in Italy anymore.
That's right. It's like The Sound of Music. You made it to Austria. It was very lucky of you. Or out of Austria.
We went the opposite way.
Now, you guys are also doing, I think in November, a cruise. So aren't you going on a cruise in a week or two?
Yeah, we're doing a cruise.
But other people can join you, or can people still book that or not, or what? What's the deal?
People can still book it, and it is. If you go to our, can I say our website? Is that allowed?
Oh, it's absolutely. Is your website kosher? Have you vetted by another rabbi?
So our website is kennedysmusic.com. There's a thing up there on the cruise. It's November 11th to the 16th, and it's cheap.
Yeah.
It was cheap to begin with, and originally it was going to go to Havana, which we were looking forward to. But then Havana got shut off to us, and when they changed the itinerary, they took a cheap cruise and made even cheaper. So now I think the cabins they start at $582 for a whole 6-day cruise.
For a whole week?
And, and not only that, the replacement destination is a private island that is owned by Royal Caribbean, and to kind of make up for the fact that it's not historic Havana, they're throwing all the onshore excursions in for free. So it's a deal. And
being Jewish, you had me at the word free. So this is.
Yeah, free is good, and we're also going to play folk music, so that's good too for the Jewish community.
Now, how much do you have to, when you do a cruise like this, how much is incumbent upon you to play and spend time with all the other passengers, and how much time, are you enjoying a cruise yourselves?
We've done these before,
Yeah.
and we're not hired by the cruise line. We book our own block of 50 cabins, so we play just to our group, and then we hang out with our group. In fact, in past cruises that we've done, just for fun, we've gone with our group of fans to the karaoke on board and watch our fans sing karaoke. That's fun. Or we read on the deck, or we do the excursions together. But we kind of stay in our own little pod of fans that book through our group. So it's fun.
Wow, I've never heard the words karaoke and fun used together before. Feels like an oxymoron to me. I don't know, but we are talking to the Kennedys now. You have been, doing these tours, as you said, since 1993. You've been working together. What are some memorable incidents that have occurred when you've been performing? Any heart attacks, any births in the audience, like in the second row, a woman is conceiving or something? What?
We did have a proposal right in the front row during a song once.
Oh, what song?
He jumped down and everything.
Well,
It was the song that we wrote as a wedding song called "Breathe Deeply, Love."
Oh.
And so he had prearranged it. As soon as we played that song, that was his cue, and he knelt down. And fortunately, she said yes, or it would have really been a disaster.
Yeah, because it looked terrible on the Jumbotron. But this looks.
Right.
Did he prearrange it with you guys, or he just knew that he was going to do it? Or did he let you know, hey, or what?
No, he got a hold of me and asked me if he would play that particular song, and he said he was going to do it then, so just to be aware. So
Now,
we're in on it.
One of the cool things
Like
about
the ice rink at Rockefeller Center.
No, here's the deal. One of the nice things about having been in music for so many years is you get to play with and meet a lot of pretty well-known people. So this is a question for you, Pete. I read somewhere that at one point you backed Bob Hope. Tell us.
Oh, yeah. That was a great gig. That was the shortest playing time of any gig. Everywhere he went, he would book a whole orchestra, like a 17-piece orchestra. We'd sit up there on the stage, and then the MC would say, "Please welcome Bob Hope." And as he walked out from the wings to the mic at center stage, we would play, "Thanks for the memories." And that's about as far as we get, because when he got to the mic, we'd stop playing. And then we'd just laugh at his jokes for, an hour. And then we played it again when he went on. And that was the whole gig. It was a great gig.
That sounds amazing. It's just no work to do. Just sit there and laugh at it. Was this like one of his overseas military things, or was it a show somewhere?
No, I lived in D.C., so there's always a lot of big, hoo-ha kind of political events and stuff going on. So at the big hotels. So he would come into town and do those things.
Well,
Yeah.
Have you guys met any or played for any presidents?
Oh, yeah. We played at both of Bill Clinton's inaugurations, and we got to meet him. We never got invited to the Bush ones or Trump's either.
What a shock.
Our name, Kennedy.
Big shock right there. Somehow I get you guys. I don't know why, but I sense you're a little left of center, maybe-ish. Or you don't want to say?
Well, our name is Kennedy. Our name is Kennedy. That's tell you all you need to know.
But are you in any way related to the Klan?
Only philosophically.
Oh, right, okay. Well, thank God. Otherwise, one of you would be dead. Percentage-wise, yeah.
We're the live Kennedy.
That's actually going to be the name of this episode, The Live Kennedys. You know, with apologies to Jello Biafra. But what about, let's see, did you also play a gala for Leonard Bernstein?
Yeah, I played at his 60th birthday, which for him wasn't a little party, you know, because of who he was. It was a big thing at Wolf Trap.
Yeah.
Down in D.C. And so it was a whole week of rehearsal with the big orchestra and all these people. Betty Compton and Adolph Green came in, and all these celebrities. And of course, he was there. And yeah, and we did bits of different, you know, West Side Story and On the Town and Candide and all of his classical stuff too.
Sure.
So that was quite a week.
I can imagine. Now, did you meet him or just shook hands? Thank you very much, and you know.
Yeah, when you're in the orchestra, you know, there's like 100 people in the orchestra, so we don't really get to hang out with the great man.
Well, who are some? I'm sorry to interrupt, but who are some celebrities that or musical legends that you have more than just backed or just hung out with and waved at? Who are folks that you had cute anecdotes about that you've known?
I'll tell you, in the folk world, we went over to England with Tom Paxton, and we rode around in a van, and we learned that Tom Paxton writes songs ceaselessly. Every 15 minutes, he would pass another lyric back to the back seat until we were finally like, enough with the songs already. We wrote too many songs. We would co-write like 3 songs in a 1-hour drive with Tom Paxton. He's brilliant. He told me that he writes a children's song every morning and a grown-up song every night, which comes to 700 songs a year.
I won't be, but he puts out at this point only maybe an album every 3-4 years, which is, where's the stuff going? Well, I guess he calls it, yeah.
He's got 2,100 songs to choose from. He's only got to find 12.
Wow.
Good enough to put on an album.
Yeah, he has been, we are very proud to say that Tom Paxton has been on this program a couple of times. So he just seems like a wonderful,
He's a wonderful guy.
Oh, yeah. No, okay.
I can imagine he would love being on your show.
Oh, well, somebody has to.
I'll tell you a story about Tom. Years and years ago, we played in Kansas with Tom and with Iris DeMent. We played a little festival, and it was in such a small town that there were no hotels, so they put us up at a B&B. And after the festival, Pete and I and Tom and his wife Midge and Iris and her husband Elmer at the time sat around the living room at this B&B, and we, I think Tom had a bottle of whiskey, and we stayed up all night telling jokes. And Tom's jokes were very raunchy and very, very funny. And we were laughing and joking. And finally about, I don't know, it wasn't that late, maybe 2 a.m., the matron of the house came down in her bathrobe and curlers and fuzzy slippers and looked at us kind of bewildered, and she said, "You have to go to bed now." She sent us off to bed.
Oh my God, if she only realized that she had like legendary folk musicians in the room, she would have been...
I think she didn't care. She just wanted to go to sleep. We were up too late. I'll tell you another story about that same gig. It was in the middle of Kansas. And a couple of weeks before the gig, it was Tom Paxton and us. So you got Tom Paxton, you got the Kennedy. The promoter calls me up on the phone. Back in those days, people still used the phone. He called me up and he says, "I've been listening to Tom Paxton's music, you know, and I have a list of songs that he probably shouldn't sing in Kansas. Would you mind passing it along to him?"
And did Tom Paxton play all of them? Just, yeah.
I think I gave him the list so that constituted his entire set.
Oh, God. Now, you're telling these wonderful stories about Tom Paxton, our great friend of the Daverhood. I would like to hear, I gotta say, Pete, tell us a story about Frank Sinatra, because I hear somewhere that he behaved like kind of a dick, if you pardon my French. Is this true?
I'll tell you, I did 2 gigs with Sinatra, and they were a study in contrast. The first one was when Hubert Humphrey retired. You remember Hubert Humphrey?
I don't remember him, but I know him. Yeah, well, yeah.
He was back in the 19th century, I think, if I remember the date correctly. But when he retired from politics, they threw a big bash for him at the Washington Hilton. And I was in the orchestra, so we were playing dance music and stuff like that. And then after dinner, the entertainment is Frank Sinatra. So he came on, and he was still in his top form, as a sort of an icon. And all the women who were, I guess, had been teenagers at the Paramount on Broadway years before, they were now, middle-aged ladies. They were all screaming and fainting and collapsing on the ground while he sang. And I was sitting right behind him, so I got to see the same view that he got. In fact, I could kind of block him out and imagine that it was me that they were screaming and fainting for.
Well, that sounds wonderful. That sounds like a classic moment. So that's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other time, yeah.
About 10 years later, I had a gig at the Kennedy Center. It was with Dionne Warwick. It was one of her That's What Friends Are For benefit shows.
Sure.
She had all these great singers. Luther Vandross was there, and Stevie Wonder, and Burt Bacharach was playing the piano. It was a heck of a band. And Elton John was there. So anyway, I'm sitting backstage with the guys in Sinatra's band, and they said, I'll lay you 10 to 1 odds the old man doesn't go on. And I said, Al, this is a live show. We're in the middle of the show right now. Yeah. What do you mean? And he said, no, he said, if he doesn't think his voice is up to it, he just gets in a limo and flies back to Palm Springs. And right at that moment, Frank Jr. came around the corner and he goes, pack it up, boys. The old man went home. And so Dionne Warwick had to go out and tell the crowd, I know it says on the program Frank Sinatra, but he's not here. But everybody was okay because if you have Stevie Wonder and Elton John, and
Well, yeah, okay, that's still pretty good. I remember one time I had to sub for the Lefkowitz Rabbi. It was like, and weirdly enough, it was like pig roast in Arkansas. But no, Lefkowitz Rabbi.
He subbed for Sinatra.
Well, it was a big sing-along like they do. It was so Sinatra, he wasn't nasty or anything. He just said, nope, I'm not going to give a subpar performance, so I'm just not even going to show. But that does put a lot of people in, a quandary. It's good for Dionne Warwick for stepping in, as it were.
Yeah. You know what someone said? Sinatra wasn't so much worried about being compared to other singers. He was worried about being compared with himself when he was young.
Oh, of course.
He didn't want people to go out there and people say, "Oh, he doesn't have the pipes anymore." No,
I understand that.
He can just take off.
Yeah. Wow.
That's what he did.
Now, I want to ask Maura Kennedy. There's one of the stories that you've told about your work and what you're doing singing and stuff like that is apparently one of your songs, quote unquote, saved someone's life.
Oh.
Yes. Tell the story. Give us a tear. Choke us up a little bit.
Well, actually, more than one people have actually told me that about our song "Life Is Large," which we wrote back in the mid-90s. And I think the story you're referring to is the first time anyone had told me that we were playing a show in Maryland, and a woman came up to us and she said, I wanted to tell you something. Your song saved my life. And I'll backtrack. We were doing a tour in England, and it was a lot of travel, little sleep. We got off the plane and immediately went to MTV Studios. If there's an MTV in England, we did a little thing for them, and then we had to do another BBC thing, and we were going to go back to our hotel. We were totally jet lagged, and we were just going to collapse. And the woman who was our publicist at the time said, if you have any energy, there's one more thing that I'd like you to do, and it's a thing for the World Service. Yeah, the World Service. And we said, well, we're here, let's do it. So we went up another couple flights of stairs, and we went into this little room, and I think it was a ISDN line. We didn't even see the interviewer, if I'm remembering that right. And we did this interview. We played the song "Life Is Large" and forgot about it. Went back to our hotel, went to sleep. Well, this program aired at U.S. military bases around the world. And the woman who came up to us at the show said that she was living in Africa. She was in a very abusive relationship, was at the end of her rope, and she heard our song on the radio, and it gave her courage to get out of there. And she left in the middle of the night, I guess, and when we saw her, she had reconnected with her high school sweetheart, and she was happy and safe, but she was.
Isn't that wonderful, though? Isn't it amazing that a song, and whatever was in your heads when you were writing it, it meant a certain something to you, and then years later, it's played for this woman. She gets out of this horrible situation. She has a whole new life, and in some level, I mean, that must feel really good, you know?
It feels really good, and there are people who come to our shows, regulars, here and there, and there have been several women who have told me the same type of story, or else, and so when I sing that song, and if they're in the audience, I sing it to that person, because I know it has deep meaning for them, so.
That's I do the same when I perform the dreidel song. It is amazing how many people. Usually gamblers, they lost their first million playing dreidel, and you know, they look to me.
I can see how your version of the dreidel song would change the person play.
Well, I put a new spin on it. I'm sorry, that's terrible. That's shameful, that joke. We're talking with Pete and Maura Kennedy, and I want to remind everybody, first of all, that you can see them live playing their folk music at the Hewlett-Woodmere Public Library on Thursday, November 21st at 7 o'clock in that evening. And by the way, if you miss them there, you can't get to Long Island. They're going to be in December. They'll be at Symphony Space on December 6th. What are you doing there?
We do a thing every year that's part of a kind of a big production that's a tribute to John Lennon.
Oh!
For the Beatles. And it's all John Lennon songs, and it's different people, some big celebrities, and then the lesser ones, and a great house band. And it's packed every year. Gotta get tickets early for that.
So what song are you doing? Do you know
We're doing Across the Universe this year.
Whoa.
You know, one of his great kind of expressions of peace and love and stuff like that. The theme is love, which is a great theme for a night of music. And so, we're looking forward to that. That's first Friday in December, whatever.
December 6th, yeah. No, that song is very meaningful to me because he sings, nothing's going to change my world, and nothing ever changes in my goddamn world. I got to tell you that. I'm just stuck. Totally. And by the way, you can also see Pete and Maura Kennedy on December 20th. So we're keeping it in the autumn here at Urban Stages, which is an off-Broadway theater in New York. What are you doing there?
That is a tribute to Nancy Griffith.
Oh.
And it's a benefit for this little local stage, Union State, what's it called?
Urban Stages.
Urban Stages.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, December's great because we do all different kinds of, it's a holiday month for a lot of people, and so we do different tributes. We're doing a Lennon tribute at the beginning of the month, the Nancy Griffith tribute towards the end of the month, and in the middle we're playing a place, the Floral Park, which is right near Queens, called Swing the Teapot, good place for Kennedy's, this old tea house and pub, and we do all holiday songs there.
Cool. Wait. Before you hold on, you do quote all holiday songs.
Yeah.
What are the Jew ones? Tell me what the Jew one is. Because you got to do one.
The dreidel song. Yeah, of course.
Okay, just checking. Just because that one's good too. Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah. We do like a Grateful Dead 20-minute jam on that one.
Excellent.
And then we, of course, we do Fiddler on the Roof, because the fiddler's dressed in a Santa suit. That's in our version.
Fiddler's, okay, I have issues with that image, but I'll deal. I will cope. Now, so we're talking about such lively things, and you're saving someone's life in some sense. Let's talk death for a minute, because let's talk about dead things, because you apparently had your first date in a cemetery. Am I wrong?
Yes.
Well,
You are not wrong at all. No, the rock and roll thing to do. Yeah, no, we were. It sounds, first of all, did you read Pete's book?
No, I did not, but I skimmed certain things. What is the name of Pete's book, and can we get it on Amazon?
Yes, you can. It's called Tone, Twang, and Taste, a guitar memoir, and a lot of these stories are in there.
Oh, okay. It's from High Point Life Books. That's right. Tone, Twang. Yeah, Tone, Twang, and Taste is Pete Kennedy's book. So I guess the story's in there, but tell us anyway.
Oh, I'll tell you anyway. I was living in Austin, Texas, and Pete was on the road touring with Nancy Griffith at the time. It could be 1992. And we met a mutual friend had a little guitar picking party at her house. And we kind of dug each other's songs and all. And Pete had to go and play a festival with Nancy Griffith up in Colorado about 10 days later. So off he went. But before he left, I said, why don't you stay and write a song with me? So he did. We wrote a song within 24 hours of meeting each other, and then off he went. And 10 days later, after the festival, Pete called me from Colorado, and we decided that we had missed our opportunity to go out on a date while we were in the same city. And we decided that we would meet in the middle between Colorado and Austin, Texas, where I was, with a 1,000-mile gap between us. So we each drove 500 miles, and we met at our mutual musical hero's gravesite in Lubbock, Texas. Can you guess who that might be?
I normally would try and guess, but I have it written in front of me. So are the initials BH? Yeah, wasn't Montalbani, I'm guessing. Al Jolson, perhaps? No.
We met at Montalbani's grave. It was Buddy Holly. Buddy Holly's grave. We love Buddy Holly. And now, we met at his grave for our first date. That was very true. And now we live just 2 blocks away from his apartment where he lived in New York the last 6 months.
Oh, really? Oh, my goodness. I did not know that. See, True Love Ways. They have them there with the Kennedys. So that's one dead musician. Pete, I have to ask you about a couple of other dead musicians. One of them, apparently, you saw playing live at some point, Jimi Hendrix.
Everyone I saw live died.
Oh, don't come to my concert.
That's the common theme, but I did see Jimi Hendrix. Yeah, I saw him at the ballroom at the Washington Hilton Hotel.
Circa when? Yeah.
Yeah, 68. It was spring of 1968. A Jimi Hendrix experience.
Was it mind-blowing? Was it incredible, or what?
Yes, it was. It actually was. And he had this wall of Marshall amps, stacked up to the ceiling. And there was no sound PA system to sing through. So he sang into the little microphone that, like, the Rotary Club would use at the hotel owned.
Yeah.
And it came out of those tiny speakers in the ceiling. So there's these little speakers that were, a few inches across, way up at the top of the ceiling. And the only words you heard the whole show were, "Excuse me while I kiss the sky," because he stopped playing momentarily when he sang that.
Yeah, otherwise you can, yeah.
Nobody went to see Jimi Hendrix sing. We went to hear him play the guitar, and you can definitely hear that. In fact, I can still hear it. My ears are still ringing, but it was loud, but it was great. It was certain people, like, when they're a genius, you can tell they've got a thing going on. He definitely had that.
Well, let me ask you about another great guitar player that I hear more than any other in your music. I could be wrong about this, how your influences could be myriad and many, but I hear a lot of Chet Atkins in what you do. Yeah. Did you ever learn from him? I mean, what did you learn from Chet Atkins, his style?
I think to be totally open about music. At the time that I grew up, a lot of people were kind of playing the same way, sort of the blues rocks kind of way. And when I got into listening to Chet, he would play, country. He's known for that, but he played pop music, and he played on Elvis records, so he played rock and roll, and he also could play classical and jazz too. And I thought that's a great way to approach the guitar, because you'll never get bored. You can just, every time you pick it up, you can play a different kind of music, and then you'll always be interested. So I got to meet him later on in Nashville. I went over to his office, and we sat down, and he said, what do you want to play? And I said, something slow. And he said, thank you. Because I think for 50 years everybody's been trying to show them how fast they could play, and we just played Honeysuckle Rose. You remember that song?
Yeah.
And he had a great time. He was smiling and having fun, and he seemed like a great guy. He could still play really well too, right up to the very end there.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good to hear. And one more question about a live performance and stuff like that. Did you, Maura? I don't know if Pete did, but you had mentioned somewhere that in the early days of their career, you saw REM in like Georgia when they were kind of first starting out.
Actually, I'm from Syracuse, and they came up to Syracuse University and played in the cafeteria. Yeah.
The cafeteria. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was standing right there in the front row, and I remember Les Active opened for them, and Mitch Easter was a very famous producer, and I had written and recorded my very first song, and all I knew was after you recorded a song, you ought to pass it around to producers. So I brought a little cassette of my song and gave it to Mitch, who worked with REM too. And about, 5 months later, I got a postcard from him with a little, critique, a little advice, and I thought, wow, now I'm in the game. So yeah, REM, that was a good memory. And then a few years later, I saw them, and they were at a theater. Not even an arena, just like a theater, and it seemed like it was too big for them. Did you see them at a country club? Yeah, that's all, of course. It was a country club cafeteria. Yeah.
Wow.
Syracuse University.
Now let me also, a question for you, Maura, because you, in your earlier days, you basically had a very suburban, nice, family in Syracuse, New York, and you dumped that. You said, no, I'm going to go on the road, do the music thing, eat tins of beans when I got no food. I mean, did you ever have regrets or think, yeah, I think I can get a Greyhound home and enough of this?
Actually, I kind of keep thinking about those days because I remember I was so poor living in Austin, and I remember I only had rice and beans and cans of soup in my closet, and I was in great shape. I thought I should go back on that soup diet again. Because that would be the one thing that would work. I would never, I never had to worry about my weight. No, I loved it. In fact, when I moved to Austin out of college, my only bill really besides rent was my college loan, and I thought if I can make my living, if I can pay my loan and pay my rent by doing nothing but playing music, then I will be a success. And I played an average of 9 gigs a week. Some of them were happy hour gigs with a free buffet, so that's how I took care of my food,
Yeah.
And but it was like my boot camp. It was like my Reeperbahn, like the Reeperbahn was to the Beatles. They played like 8 hours a day. I played so much that I got confident, and I loved that time. I wouldn't trade that for anything because it's really comfortable for me to be on stage, and I just love playing music. I get antsy if I don't play a gig every couple of days.
Wow.
Poverty is great for keeping your weight down.
Yes, it is.
Although not, I mean, it's kind of a funny joke, but not really true because you get people who are poor and they live near food deserts and they can get all sorts of junky food, but not vegetables and things that are healthy and will keep them slim. So it's a joke, but
Yeah. In New York City, there's great food everywhere. I remember we did one cross-country trip. We drove the whole way. And when we got to Los Angeles, we finally found an Italian restaurant, and Maura started crying.
You fell on my knees. Right.
Finally, good food.
Oh my gosh. Well, I want to remind people that they can hear some very good music from Pete and Maura Kennedy. If you go see them, all sorts of opportunities. It's like you're giving so many people so many chances to see you, they're going to get lazy. And they go, I'll go next time. They're playing 3 weeks here and 4 weeks there. Don't do that. Go see them. Go see the Kennedys. What? Yeah.
I'll tell you what we do to keep them coming.
What?
We always take requests at our shows. And sometimes our shows turn out to be all requests because everybody's got so many songs they want to hear. And so because of that, every single show is different. We played a show last week, and people were requesting songs we've never played before.
Melancholy Baby.
and we played them. I mean, it's fun. It's a fun challenge. And like I said, every show is different. So we'll get people to come to every one of our area shows because they know they're going to hear something different than the last show.
Well, since you play both covers and your own music, I mean, is there literally like 1,000 songs that you could, if somebody says, please play, do you have like 1,000 in reserve where it won't throw you, or like, oh, come back in 2 days, we'll practice it and then we'll play it?
Absolutely. We both came up, you know, before we even met, we both played in bars all the time where you played from 9 to 1 or 2 in the morning. And we both learned that the best way to avoid people shouting free bird is to just like keep going from one song to another. So in the course of that, you learn thousands of songs.
Wow. So
you can still do it. It's like if you're gonna be a writer, you read books, you know. So if you're gonna be a songwriter, you listen to songs and learn. We could play any Beatles song, any Dylan song, any Buddy Holly song.
All right. I'll take you. Wait. You just said this right now, live with us on the. Can you please play? You don't have to play the whole thing, but Revolution number 9. If you could maybe do a little bit of that Beatles number.
Revolution number 9. That's one of our specialties.
Is it really? Yeah. I can start you off. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Goddammit. Number 9.
Number 9.
And I can do Yoko. It's like, you become naked. That's all I remember from that stupid goddamn waste of vinyl, goddammit. Anyway. But you were speaking of writing, you know, a writer reads books. When you guys write a song, what is the is there a thing like someone comes up with a tune first, or the poem lyrics come first, or it's mutual, or every song is different?
Every song is different. Every song. Sometimes the very first time we wrote a song, Pete had a title. He told me the title, and I immediately sang the title as the melody. And then we wrote the music and the words together. The next song we wrote, Pete had written out an entire lyric, and he gave it to me, and I put it to melody. Other times, Pete will give me a music track, and I will write a lyric to that and a melody. So it's always different.
Do you ever?
We don't want to do it. We don't want to do it in the same way. We don't want it to become a formula. So we kind of keep it all open.
Do you ever argue about the composition of a song? Do you ever write a lyric and it's like, no, maybe not, or you think, no, don't go to that chord, go to a B flat, and he's like, no, I'm going to an A sharp, or something like that.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the reason our partnership works is we both like each other's music. No, we don't. So, what do you think? So we like the ideas the other person comes up with. I think that's what makes it happen. I'll tell you, in all seriousness, whenever I co-wrote with anybody else prior to Pete, there would always be that tension, like someone wouldn't like the other line, and it would just feel like very negative. Everybody's rejecting everything else. With Pete, it's always been, oh, let's try this. Oh, that's a good idea. Or maybe we can do this. And it's always been very, I've never felt like an idea was stupid, even if it probably was.
I'm not going to parse that sentence. I'm going to leave. But that also brings up the thing of being a married couple for so long. Married couples fight, they argue, as they say in the Jonathan Richman song, people must argue, people must fight. So does performing, do all the arguments end at the curtain, and sometimes when the show's over, whatever you're fighting about, that's gone?
We don't really fight. I mean, honestly, we might have differences here and there, but it's never anything that's gonna affect a show or our lives. You know, it might be I don't know. I can't even think of anything. But no, our shows are always I don't know, happy. They're happy for us. We love to play music, so and our audience comes to our shows to feel uplifted. That's really, I think our mission in life is to bring people up. And these days, we need it more than ever.
Yeah. And I know when people see me or listen to me, they get really depressed. So if you've been hearing me, ladies and gentlemen, and you need uplift, and you need to feel good about life and great about music, you're going to want to go see Pete and Maura Kennedy. Again, they are playing at the Hewlett-Woodmere Public Library in Hewlett/Woodmere, New York on Thursday, November 21st at 7 o'clock in the evening. If you missed that, remember there'll be part of a tribute thing to a symphony space on December 6th? Was it Nancy Griffith or who?
Nancy Griffith tribute. Actually,
yeah.
Can I talk about one more show?
Oh, sure. Throw it in there.
We're playing at the Washington Square Hotel on December 8th.
Ooh.
And that's going to be not a tribute. That's going to be all Kennedy's music. That's right there at Washington Square in a hotel where Bob Dylan and Jimi Hendrix and Ian and Sylvia, a lot of those major musical icons from the 60s lived for a spell. So that's got some good mojo there. So
that's on December 8th. You can see an actual Pete and Maura Kennedy concert, full, normal, at this Washington Square Hotel. And then on December 20th, you're at Urban Stages with a holiday concert. And then don't forget, you can also book the cruise that they're doing to not Cuba, but a private island that's owned by a tour group, by shipping. Wait, what was it? It was Royal Norwegian or something? Caribbean? Who?
Royal, yeah, I think it's Royal Caribbean. It's at the Key West too, which is always great.
Oh my goodness. So to find out all of who can keep this in their heads, you don't have to. Just go to the website, kennedysmusic.com. Kennedy, like the dead president, kennedysmusic.com is the place to go. I've got one more question for this delightful and very talented, wonderful couple, which is, besides Life is Large, what are the one or two favorite songs of yours that you guys do?
Well, there's another song that's kind of a current song for us called Safe Until Tomorrow. And that really resonates, I think, these days. It resonates with us because we've been taking care of my dad.
Oh.
And he's 90 now and in need of 24-hour care. And so that kind of, a lot of our audience is in that same boat. It's a very, again, uplifting song about a subject that can be kind of weighty.
Yeah.
And that resonates really well. But the other one we always end with, no matter what the requests are of the night, we pretty much always end with our song Stand, which is a very much an all-inclusive, we call it our all-inclusive gospel song because it invokes all the different deities and the religions, kind of go in peace, shalom kind of song.
Oh, I like that. Well, I will tell you both, of course, to go in peace and have great shalom. And I know everybody in the audience is going to stand and applaud for the Kennedys. Do go see them in all their shows. And it just remains for me to thank you both so much for spending some time with us here in the Daverhood. And as I said, go in peace and shalom to you.
Shalom. I wish you would be our MC. That would be a great. You could open for us, and then you could bring everybody down, and we'll bring them back up. There you go.
That's right. You pull the nooses out of their hands, the pill bottles out of their purses. That'd be wonderful. Oh, my goodness. The Kennedys, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, thank you so much. Shalom.
Shalom. Okay,
Bye-bye now.
I read the news today, oh boy, about a lucky man who made the grade. And though the news was rather sad, well, I just had to laugh. I saw the photograph. He blew his mind out in the car. He didn't notice that the lights had changed. A crowd of people stood and stared. They'd seen his face before. Nobody was really sure if he was from the House of Lords. I saw a film today.
Oh, the Kennedys, ladies and gentlemen, on Dave's Gone By on this Saturday morning. Or actually, it just turned into Saturday afternoon on this November 9th, 2019. Dave Lefkowitz here doing, of course, the Dave's Gone By Facebookio Podcastio Programmio of the stream. We thank the Kennedys so much for being with us in the Daverhood. Thank you also to Michael Kornfeld for setting up that interview with the one, the only, the Jewish Rabbi Saul Solomon. I want to remind you that if you want to find out more about Rabbi Saul, he's got a website at shalomdammit.com. Shalom, D-A-M-M-I-T, shalomdammit.com. It's the place where you can hear some of his songs, also his rabbinical reflections, they're kind of mini comical sermons, plus his stage show, the long version of the one-man, two-person musical that he did called Shalom Dammit a couple of years ago at the Richmond Shepherd Theater off Broadway. So you can literally watch that right on YouTube. The link is at his website, shalomdammit.com. That is also where you can watch the TV show, the hilarious 10 episodes that he did for cable TV on Long Island a few years back. It's all at shalomdammit.com. So thank you also to him. We've got our friends of the Daverhood to talk about. Oh, I should have clicked this a while ago because I had so many people who've been tuning in and sending messages and saying hi. And I haven't got to read them. So welcome to, let's see how far back I can go here. Paul and Kim and Tony, of course, and Karen and Chris, and my cousin Mark and Cynthia and Jeff and Michael and David and Jeffrey and Frank and Jim, another Jim, and Roland and Richard and Jeremy. Hey, let's see, and Jay and Nancy and Matthew, Deborah. Sorry about this. Rob, no, I'm not sorry. I'm thrilled to see so many people. Jolinda Warhol, of course, Trevor, Miles, Bob, Lawrence, Melissa. Oh my God, Melissa, a friend of the Daverhood, a singer, very well-known singer, Jeffrey and Claudia and Tom and Wayne and Reggie and Bruce and Blake and Dennis and, oh my God, Brian from Greeley, Colorado, and Teresa and Natasha and Gina and Phyllis and Dorian. There's actually a whole bunch more. I can't even go back and find them, but so thrilled. And so many folks have tuned in to see the 720th episode of Dave's Gone By. We're not done yet, by the way. I know it's noon. I know we're here 9 to noon every Saturday Eastern time in the Daverhood with Dave's Gone By. But we have a couple more things to do, so we'll probably get out of here closer to 12:30-ish. But remember, those of you who maybe didn't even know we were on, or watched or listened to the show a year ago, you forgot about it, and then you suddenly tuned in, and you missed part of Pete and Maura Kennedy. Or if you're a theater person, you want to hear what I was talking about, my reviews of the Broadway show about Tina Turner, or the Great Society, the Broadway show. Or you want to hear the comedy of Greeley Crimes and Old Times, and you missed it today. It's all right. Remember that once the show is over here on Facebook, it's archived. You just go right back to the Facebook page and give it a couple of minutes, and you can watch the show right from the beginning and watch it at any point. But we also make sure to keep all our archives at davesgoneby.com. So within a day or two, we'll upload the program both as an audio and a video file. So either you can watch it or just bring it with you audio-wise anywhere. So that'll be at davesgoneby.com, along with all the archives going back to October of 2002, when we first started the program. So they're all there. We also have the last half a year of shows just on audio at a podcasting site called castbox.fm. So, if you're an on-the-go person and maybe you're driving to work or something, and it's probably not the best idea to watch TV while you're driving to work, but to hear something, to have a podcast, an MP3, sure. So get that at davesgoneby.com or at castbox.fm. And we've also just begun in the past week or two putting up some shows on archive.org. We're very excited. I don't know if it's archives or archive.org. I'll check that out for you next week. But really excited about this because I've been using that site to listen to shows by Bob and Ray, and don't have time to even talk about it today, but I've been listening to a lot of Gene Shepard and realizing just what an osmotic influence he was on me. Because I knew I was influenced, of course, by Howard Stern and by Vince Scelza and some of the other people and Dr. Demento on the radio. But not having really listened to Gene Shepard on the radio back in the 50s before I was born, 60s or 70s, And now understanding what he was doing back then and listening to these shows 50, 60 years later and realizing, oh my God, he was doing this 70 years ago before podcasting. Gene Shepherd, he was the man. If you just know him from A Christmas Story, where he does the narration and he wrote at least collaborated on the screenplay, and if you know him from that or from some other narrations that he did, and you don't know what Gene was bringing to the radio back in the day, how unique he was and how amazing and literate and funny he was on the radio extemporaneously. I can't even touch Gene Shepherd at his best. I tried to touch him one time and they got a restraining order, but I can't, talent-wise, he was doing stuff. And the funny thing is, I know now that I'm tremendously influenced by him and never had even listened to him in that context. And yet what he did came down through the broadcasters that I did listen to. But anyway, that is all by way of saying that if you go to archive.org or archives.org, and I'm sure those are two different websites, but you'll start finding some Dave's Gone By episodes. And I just love the idea that you can go to that site, that one website, and I'm bumping up against reruns of old time radio, reruns of people that I listen to. There's some Dr. Demento material on there. Very excited about this and about this site, which really keeps me going all day when I'm at work, where I can listen to Spotify and music only so much. I want a little something else. And then I'll go to this site and, let me listen to 45 minutes of Gene Shepherd on the radio in 1960. And it just, the minutes go like that. Anywho, I am Dave Lefkowitz. You're listening to Dave's Gone By and watching it too, right here on Facebook. My other request is, of course, if you want to get in touch, you can always leave me a message right here on Facebook all week long, or drop me an email, davesgoneby@aol.com, DAVESGONEBY, Daves, like my name, gone by @aol.com. I also have a Twitter feed, Radio Dave 2. It's Radio Dave and the number 2. Now, I want to make sure that my cousins there, I'm going to tell you right out front, I'm related to these people, but I do not coach them. I do not help them. Cynthia and Jeff, are you still there? And I asked this question very specifically because they play the trivia game along with me. Cynthia and Jeff, they're kind of the people to beat. See, we do a weekly trivia quiz called Today, Yesterday. And it's called, oh yay, Cynthia's still here. It's November 9th, 2019. So we'll go back in history to many, many previous November 9ths. And your job is to answer the quiz trivia questions that I ask of things that happened on this date in history. Kind of cool, right? So let me just, here it is. I had a little problem with the printer earlier or last night. So I'm just flipping through pages, trying to find what I need, but I did. So ladies and gentlemen, let me find our theme music for our Today, Yesterday quiz. It's free to play. I ask that you don't cheat by going to Wikipedia or Google, but you can ask a friend. And here's the deal. Cynthia and Jeff are playing along, and they will tend to be the first ones to chime in, to type in what they think is the answer. So it's like Jeopardy. You've got to beat them to the buzzer, either mentally or try typing in yourselves, and try and beat Cynthia and Jeff and see if you get the right answers to these trivia questions. Again, you're watching Dave's Gone By, and the name of the segment is Today, Yesterday. It is our, notice how I'm drawing this out to get just to the point in the song where we have our lead in, Today, Yesterday. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of emotion to get to just that little part of the Beach Boys song. But here we go. Well, we got some thumbs up. We got some people ready to play the trivia game. Here we go. Today, yesterday, November 9th. Today, yesterday, 1923. A German fellow was arrested for treason when he and his political friends attempted a coup d'etat. Name him and the incident. Okay, 1923, November 9th, a German fella, was arrested for treason when he and his political friends attempted a government coup d'etat. Please name this fellow and the incident that he was involved in. And I realize that there is a second gap, maybe 5 seconds or sometimes 10 seconds between when I'm speaking and when it's actually coming at you across the wireless. So I will give you time to come up with your answers, and I do have my trusty musical xylophone while you think of your answers. I do believe we already have my cousins chiming in with their answers. If you think they're correct, say so. If you have a different answer, if you think they're wrong, you can say so too. And I'm going to give you a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown before I give you the answer. 1. Oh, sure, Pete and Maura Kennedy can play guitar, but can they do this? Anyway, the answer to question number 1 of our quiz is correct for Cynthia and Jeff. It was Adolf Hitler, and this was a tougher part of the question. It was the beer hall putsch. What happened was it lasted like 2 days in a gunfight. Hitler could have been killed in this thing, and he wasn't. The Nazis were crushed. There were a couple of people who were killed in the beer hall putsch. Hitler escaped, was captured. He spent about a year in prison, and what's there to do in prison? I guess they didn't give him oils and watercolors to paint with. They gave him a pen, some paper, and he wrote about his struggles. And literally the rest, quite truly, unfortunately, is history. But well done to Cynthia and Jeff and to all of those of you who came up with the correct answer for question number 1. We have a few more, so let's see how you do in our next question. Well, 15 years later, on November 9th, 1938, the same fellow we were just talking about and his political friends looted 7,500 Jewish businesses, burned 267 synagogues, and killed 91 Jews in a pogrom. What is the German name for the incident and its English translation? Every Jew who's watching this knew the answer. Well, I never say Adolf Hitler, but let's see, Cynthia and Jeff thinking this one over, all of you folks at home. So literally 15 years to the day after the beer hall putsch, what happened in Germany where 7,500 Jewish businesses were looted, synagogues were burned, and 91 Jews were killed? What was the name? What was this incident in the German name? And what is the English translation of it? All right, I've got an answer here. As usual, Cynthia and Jeff are the first at bat. Did they get it right? Their spelling's a little off, but that is correct. You're 2-0, Cynthia and Jeff. The answer is Kristallnacht, which also happens to mean Night of the Broken Glass. And wasn't it? It was about 10 years ago on this show, on the Dave's Gone By show, there was a story that we read about in the papers where an Austrian or a German spa was, they wanted people to come to the spa. This is absolutely true. And have a lovely weekend of food and massage and pampering. And it was spend your crystal nights at our German hotel. And so nobody told them no, they had no memory, because I guess they try to suppress all this stuff in Germany. They don't talk about it. They're not allowed to read Mein Kampf. So they spend a crystal night being pampered in our lovely Austrian hotel. True story. But anyway, yes, well done to Cynthia and Jeff and all of you folks at home. We've got some more questions for you in our Today, Yesterday quiz. Hey, speaking of racism, and don't we always love to speak of racism? Today, yesterday, 1961. Which of these organizations, it's a multiple choice, eliminated its Caucasians only rule? You know, I was talking about LBJ, just going to see The Great Society on Broadway. So one of these organizations on November 9th, 1961, did away with its Caucasians only clause. Was it the U.S. Tennis Association, the Long Island Railroad Conductors Union, the Professional Golfers Association, or the Grand Ole Opry? Who was it back in 1961 that did away with a rule, whether it was spoken or unspoken on the books or not, that said Caucasians only on this date? Who was it? I'll read the choices again. Was it the USTA, the Tennis Association, the LIRR Conductors Union, the PGA, the Professional Golfers Association, or the Grand Ole Opry? Who took away this horrible rule back in 1961? Okay, give it a little bit of thought or just take a guess. We have Cynthia and Jeff. I'm wondering if they're going to bifurcate their vote here. Aha! Oh, I love it when they split. I love to cause marital dissension in my cousins here. So we've got one person here who says that it's the PGA, the Golfers Association, but she thinks it's the Grand Ole Opry that gave up this rule on November 9th, 1961. I'm going to give a countdown. If anybody else wants to chime in, you got 5 seconds. And, well, see, this is a good rule of thumb, as the rabbi would say. It is good to listen to your husband, Cynthia. The men know. but it's true. Jeff is correct. He got it right. It was the PGA. They did away with that rule in 1961. Just so you know, back in the 1920s, an African-American fellow named DeFord Bailey was already playing the Grand Ole Opry. So they didn't, of all people down in the South, they didn't have that rule. Whereas Charlie Sifford became the first black golfer on the PGA. And by 1967 and 1968, he was winning majors. So yeah, it was 1961 that the Golfers Association opened things up. Way too late, but good for them for finally doing it. Okay, so I think we've got Jeff at 3-0, Cynthia at 2-1. Cynthia saying her husband is always right. How are you other folks doing at home, playing the Today, Yesterday quiz? We're on to our next question. Today, Yesterday, 1858, rolling it backwards. Publisher Moses Dresser Phillips put out the first issue of a magazine devoted to, quote, literature, art, and politics. 140 years later, the magazine is still going, having published everyone from Oliver Wendell Holmes to Mark Twain to Ernest Hemingway. Now, the magazine's current owner is Lauren Powell Jobs, widow of Steve Jobs. Can you name the magazine? Oop-a-doo, oop-a-doo-a-doo. Going back all the way to 1858, when there were still magazines and newspapers. So, you know, and newspapers that did crimes at all times, perhaps, except the times were old, were new back then. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, let's I'll read that again. So in 1858, publisher Moses Dresser Phillips put out the debut issue of a magazine about literature, art, and politics. They ended up publishing everyone from Oliver Wendell Holmes to Hemingway to Twain. And it is still going, this magazine, okay? And it's owned by the widow of Steve Jobs. What is the name of the magazine? So I'm going to give you a couple more seconds to puzzle it over. Do-do-do. Okay, gonna give our countdown on the magical xylophone. Oh, now hold on. You can't have two different answers. You gotta pick one. Unless again, you guys are splitting. Cynthia and Jeff are bifurcated, perhaps again, or taking stabs. So pick one or another if you're not sure. I'm gonna give you a couple more seconds to say who chose what, or pick something else, or come down firmly with an answer. I'm counting on you, Cynthia and Jeff. Don't be wishy-washy here. It's a quiz. The world is awaiting your response. Oh, sure. Oh, sure. The class will just wait. I'm all the time in the world. I'm paid anyway. Pick one. Ah, okay, here we go. Gonna give a countdown. The answer, well, see, we've got a split again. Cynthia says the Atlantic Monthly. Jeff says the New Yorker. Both old magazines, both devoted to literature, art, and politics, both still publishing. I don't know if they're going strong, but they're still going for sure. Who is correct? And boy, oh boy, there's gonna be some splitting because Cynthia, you got it. It's the Atlantic Monthly. That is the one that is currently owned by the widow Jobs, Lauren Powell Jobs. So now, you each missed one. This is getting real interesting, folks. So let's get on to the next question in our Today Yesterday quiz. November 9th, 1964. This comedian returned to Broadway with a sequel to his solo comedy a decade earlier. Titled Comedy and Music Opus 2, it opened tonight in 1964 at the John Golden Theater and ran there for half a year. Name the star. I know it's a little vague and tricky in that one, but I do have a clue in the question. So who, on November 9th, 1964, year I was born, who was on Broadway for half a year in a solo comedy called Comedy in Music Opus 2, big clue there, okay? And it ran for about half a year at the John Golden Theater. So take a couple of seconds and think that one over and over and over. Well, I can give you a clue right now. I almost am giving you a clue right now that I think about it. So one clue is that this person was not born in America. Okay, if that's helpful. Ooh, I may have stumped some people here. I'm going to start my second clue. I'll give you a couple more seconds, and then do you think? Wow, I may be stumping the crowd here. On Broadway, opening on Broadway in 1964 on this date, who was the comedian who was on Broadway in a show called Comedy in Music Opus 2? I think Cynthia and Jeff have it. I can't do it the way he did, but yes, well done. It was the sequel to his first Broadway stint. We're talking about the great Danish comedian and Jewish Danish comedian, as a matter of fact, Victor Borge. Well done. Well done, Cynthia and Jeff. It was Victor Borge, Comedy and Music, and some stuff never gets old. You can listen to him do his comedy at the piano or watch the videos. It was just a brilliant comedian. And I remember playing his punctuation mark routine over and over and over again and loving it. Just getting spit all over the screen. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, Google Victor Borge once the show is over. B-O-R-G-E. Well done, guys. Each of you have one wrong and everything else right. Let's get to another question in our Today Yesterday quiz. 2 years later, 1966, at London's Indica Gallery, John Lennon came to see an exhibition by a conceptual artist named Yoko Ono. He knew she was special when one of her pieces involved climbing up a ladder to see a teeny tiny painting on the ceiling. And that painting had just one thing on it. It was a word that you had to use a magnifying glass to see. What was the word? I'm going to let you think about it for a moment, and then I will give you a multiple choice on this. Some of you may already know it, so I do have multiple choice. So when John Lennon, before he was introduced, before he met her, before they were doing the bed-ins for peace, Yoko Ono was a visual conceptual artist. She had this gallery showing where you climb up a ladder and then you go look up on the ceiling, teeny, teeny, tiny painting with a word on it. Have a look at it with a magnifying glass. What was that word? Now I'm going to give you a multiple choice on this one. We have a couple of answers. We have some answers here. Cynthia and Jeff. Cynthia says peace. Jeff says why. Since this is a multiple choice, I'm going to let that go. Won't even count that as wrong. Nice try, but neither of those words. Which one was it? Was it love, apple, yes, scream? Which word? Well, yeah, you both got it wrong, but I wasn't 100% finished with the question. Yeah, I wanted to give you a chance to try it before I did the multiple choice. So, was the word, I'll give you another chance here, love, apple, yes, or scream? When John Lennon climbed up the ladder and realized that he was dealing with a brilliant conceptual mind. And someone perhaps that, oh, I've got to meet this woman, and then history was enjoined. So, give it another try, guys. We have an answer. Is it the correct one? Let's give it a countdown. Okay. When John Lennon climbed up that ladder to see Yoko Ono's conceptual exhibit, looked in the magnifying glass, he saw the teeny tiny word, yes. So yes, Cynthia and Jeff, well done, you got it. You had good answers though. Peace and why would have been a great one. Now that's more of the question that Rabbi Saul would have put up on the ceiling. And he would have done like 100-foot ladder where you're schlepping, and then you look at it and think, why? But no, the word that she put up there was yes. And I think Lennon said at one point that if the word had been no, it would have been really depressing and sad and whatever. But yes, Harry carried so many possibilities in it and such positivity that he was tremendously intrigued and said, I've got to make this Yoko woman. And he did. And he did his voice a lot better than I do. We're doing our Today Yesterday quiz on this episode of Dave's Gone By, November 9th. So what happened on November 9th? Speaking of the Beatles, today in 1968, their song, With a Little Help from My Friends, went to #1 on the British singles chart. But it wasn't the Beatles version. Who had the hit? So this is a boomer question. This is a pre-yuppie question. Who, it's funny, Maura Kennedy, they can play any Beatles song. They could probably play this one and have, but it wasn't their version. In 1968, on this date in London, that went to the top of the charts, #1 on the British singles today, 1968. Oh, wow, we have an answer already. Do you agree? Do you think Cynthia and Jeff have it right? Here we go. Or, no, I should play the damn song. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't play the song, but okay. Did we get by with a little help? Did the Beatles get by with a little help from Joe Cocker? I can't even do the motions, man. But yes, it was Joe Cocker. I think the Mad Dogs and Englishmen tour. He brought that song to #1 on the British charts, and that was in 1969. He performed it at Woodstock, and then of course on Saturday Night Live, one of John Belushi's most prized moments was his mimicking Joe Cocker doing that song and some other songs. So yes, well done, Cynthia and Jeff. We got 2 more questions in our Today Yesterday quiz about November 9th. Oh boy, this is, I'm not talking about pop culture of the 60s and 70s, and this is right in that wheelhouse. Here we go. 3 contemporaries of Monty Python, their names, Tim Brooke Taylor, Graham Garden, and Bill Oddie, they formed a comedy troupe of their own. And their show, a mix of sketch comedy and sitcom, debuted on BBC Two in 1970, and it ran for a full decade. Name the troupe and their show, which was shown on American television on, I think, PBS sometime in the 70s as well. So, what is the name of this troupe and their eponymous show? Maybe the toughest question, really, of our quiz today. I'll read the names again. It was a trio: Tim Brooke-Taylor, Graham Garden, and Bill Oddie formed the comedy troupe. Their show mixed sketch comedy and sitcom together in sort of a more free-flowing, younger, hippie way than perhaps Monty Python was. It was very, very popular and ran for a full decade on the BBC. What do they call themselves? And it was also the name of their show. I think, this one's taken some time. This one may have stumped the crowd. And by the way, while we're mentioning this, welcome to Jay and Hermie, and to Tom, who've just joined us in the Daverhood. I'm going to give it another couple of seconds. Okay. Well, in answer to, take a stab. Just pick a name. Fruit salad, something like that. No? Give it a woo. Well, I'll do a countdown and I'll lead into the answer here. So one of the other shows that I've been listening to, not at archive.org, but in other places on the interwebs, Untitled Chapter, they're going to pass, they're going to waffle on this one. They're going to just let this one go right into the strike zone and strike out on this question. Okay, never heard of them. But here's the deal. And it made me think of this too, because as I mentioned, I've been sitting at work and working, blah, 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 and thank goodness don't have to interact with people. So got my headphones in, and I'm listening to Spotify, and I'm listening to occasional, bits of Howard Stern that have been captured off Sirius Radio somehow, and I'm listening to, what the hell else am I was talking old episodes of Bob and Ray, and Gene Shepard, and old time radio, and newish time comedy radio. Well, one of the things I was able to track down on the web on these entire seasons of a radio program from the early to mid 1960s called I'm Sorry, I'll Read That Again, which is kind of a gem. It's really uneven, it's sketch comedy, but some of the high points are pretty high, and you see these people coming into their own, one of them being John Cleese. Long before he did the Silly Walk, long before he was the martinet of Python and the businessman who goes a little bit mad in every sketch, he's, you can hear it. You can hear him absolutely developing his comic genius in I'm Sorry, I'll Read That Again. And he's surrounded by a host of up-and-coming English comedians of the time. None of the other Pythons were associated with I'm Sorry, I'll Read That Again. They had one woman in the troupe, Jo Kendall. There was also David Hatch, but there was Tim Brooke-Taylor, and then Bill Oddie and Graham Garden wrote most of the show. They wrote most of the scripts for several seasons, and Bill Oddie did a bunch of the music. Well, Cleese went on to help form Monty Python's Flying Circus. Oddie, Tim Brooke-Taylor, and Graham Garden went on to fill the Goodies. Nobody remembers them? Nobody remembers the Goodies on TV? They were dressed kind of sort of hippie-ish, and they rode this long tandem bicycle that they absolutely despised, apparently, because they would ride it in the beginning of the show and for little bits and segments, and they would keep falling off and getting hurt and getting thrown into the mud off camera. But it was the Goodies, and I kind of wish there were more episodes of the show around. I would check. I remember it being in no way as funny or a patch on Monty Python, but I was a kid and it was quite enjoyable, and they were a fun crew. They were sort of two. What the Monkees were to the Beatles, the Goodies were kind of like to Monty Python's Flying Circus. Each had their value. Okay, all right, so got one down there, but we got one more question. You guys can redeem yourselves with our last yesterday quiz question. Yesterday, wow, I can't believe it was this long ago. 1985, a 22-year-old man beat Anatoly Karpov to become the youngest world chess championship. What other show can you watch on the interweb or anywhere where we talk about British TV comedy, John Lennon, Hitler, and championship chess? I'm sorry, this show is special, I'm telling you. So, okay, this person beat Anatoly Karpov to become the youngest world chess champion, a fellow Russian. This guy retired from chess in 2005 and is now mostly a political dissident and activist for liberal democracy. Please name this chess wunderkind. I should sing One Night in Bangkok. One night in Bangkok. Chess is the word, it's the word. Have you heard? It's the word, it is chess. I'll keep singing until Cynthia and Jeff come up with an answer. I know it's annoying, but I'm waiting and I don't like dead air. So think of the answer. This 22-year-old man. I gotta change up the melody somehow. Chess is the word, it's the word. 1985. Okay, we have an answer. We do indeed. So, on November 9th, 1985, this 22-year-old, this stripling, beat Anatoly Karpov to become the youngest world chess champion ever. He was a major champion and very, very popular too. You know, he went on all the talk shows. He was well-spoken, good-looking guy, knew English. So he became kind of a focal point that went even beyond chess, which allowed him in his country to become something of a dissident later on when he retired from competitive chess playing in 2005 and concentrated on speaking out for democracy and all the bad things in Russia, especially under Putin even. So who am I talking about? The answer is not Boris Spassky. As a matter of fact, Spassky is going back a decade before. Bobby Fischer was the fellow who basically dethroned Boris Spassky in that famous match. So, and I don't think Spassky rose to that level again. No, it's Garry Kasparov. Remember, Karpov versus Kasparov was the big next chess match after Fischer-Spassky. And so, and Kasparov is still, thank goodness, alive and well today, despite what might be going on in Russia with the leadership there. But oh boy, okay, so they got a bit tougher later in the day yesterday. How did you and Jeff do, Cynthia? I'm getting the feeling that you were each something like 6 and 3, because we had 9 questions, and each of you got 1 wrong, and then you double backed on each other. But 6 and 3. You know, a football team does that. They might make the playoffs or something, and then not too shabby. How do you all do at home? Doing our yesterday quiz on today, the days gone by, Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the stream on this November 9th, 2019, our 720th episode of the show. We're calling it the Live Kennedys because Pete and Maura Kennedy were in the Daverhood a few minutes ago. And remember, you can see them live in the flesh, playing their guitars and singing at the Hewlett-Woodmere Public Library on Thursday, November 21st. And then they're doing something at Urban Stages, and they've got benefits to do. They're all over the place. So do check them out. They are now friends of the Daverhood. As we lead into our next segment, this is where we remind you of all the wonderful people who have been on this program, and that maybe they were on the show 5 years ago, 12 years ago. What are they doing now? Are they doing the same show? Do they have a new album out? Have they written a new book? Are they in a new play off or on Broadway? So we check in on the friends of the Daverhood. Okay, here we go. So among the people that I'd like to tell you about, let me give a shout out to the songstress and actress Melissa Errico. yesterday or today. I think she just released her album yesterday about songs by Michel Legrand, and she is going to be appearing tonight at Feinstein's at 54 Below. Then on also tonight, Neil Berg's Piano Men at Pier 701 in Piermont, New York. You want to see him? He usually accompanies other people, and I think it's devoted to Elton John and Billy Joel. He's doing some of their songs. Neil Berg in Piermont, New York tonight. Also tonight at the Soho Playhouse, Daniel Kahner's show, The Jewish Chronicles. Now we just had Darren Lee Cole, who's the artistic director of the Soho Playhouse. He was just on the program last week. So we get a double on that one. And Kahner is quite talented. You're going to want to see that show tonight off Broadway, or borderline off. Jackie the Joke Man Martling is at the Algonquin Arts Theater tonight. That is in Manasquan, New Jersey. So we're widening our circumference a little bit for that, and widening it even further for tonight. If you're in Norwalk, Connecticut, go to the Magnolia Room and hear Jeff Harner sing the songs of Cole Porter. Christine Petty, she's in New Jersey. No, nobody's in New York. Everybody's all over the country, but not New York. Christine Petty is in the last days of summer. That is at the George Street Playhouse in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Katie Huffman, this is on November 11th now. Oh, but I'm sorry. I want to be clear. Christine Petty is in that show at George Street that is running now through tomorrow. So you have 2 days to catch it. Katie Huffman on Monday is in a reading of the musical Over Here, and they're doing that at the Triad Theater in New York. On Monday as well, Andre DeShields, congratulations. He's getting a Lifetime Achievement Award from the York Theater Company. It's the Oscar Hammerstein Award. Pretty neat. It's going to be held at the Edison Ballroom. And among the people paying tribute are two of our friends also, David Yazbek, the composer, and the actor, dancer, singer Ben Vereen. That is all happening on Monday at the Edison Ballroom. Also on Monday, Rockers on Broadway benefit concert of 1970s hits will be giving LaChanze a Lifetime Achievement Award, and Jeremy Schoenfeld is going to be performing there as well. We get a double bagger on that one as well. On Thursday afternoon, we mentioned Jeff Harner before. He'll be at the 92nd Street Y singing the songs of Comden and Green. Oh, and since it's devoted to Comden and Green, our friend of the Daverhood, Andy Probst, wrote a book about them. He'll be there emceeing. So another double. That is this Thursday afternoon at 92nd Street Y. And then I'm going to give information on next Saturday, because we're going to be preempted next Saturday's show. So let me do a few more of these friends of the Daverhood. For example, next Saturday the 16th, Studio 54, 54 Below, which is below Studio 54. They love cast albums, so they're going to be singing songs from them. People like our friends, multiple, Anita Gillette, Penny Fuller, and Martin Vidnovic. And, oh my God, we got a quadruple on this, because the MC is our friend Michael Portantier. That is all happening next Saturday, 54 Below. Oh, the indefatigable Andre DeShields, he turns up again, also on that'll be next Monday. He and Donna McKechnie, Mazel Tov, are both being inducted into the Theater Hall of Fame, getting on the wall of the Gershwin Theater on Broadway. And then on Monday, Andre DeShields is being honored by the Encore Community Services thing at Sardi's. I don't know what that is, but if there's an award at the moment, Andre DeShields is getting it. Nobel Peace Prize, Pulitzer, it's going to Andre DeShields. Linda Lavin, and oh wow, she will be appearing with Charles Busch in The Tale of the Allergist's Wife, that's Bush's play, a benefit reading for the Actors Fund. That is happening at the Samuel J. Friedman Theater next Monday. It's just a one-day reading with our friend Linda Lavin. Gretchen Cryer is going to be bringing back kind of a version of her most known play. It's called I'm Still Getting My Act Together, ... That is a reading at the York Theater, and it's happening not this coming Monday, but next Monday, the 18th. And then starting Tuesday, the 19th, and running through mid-December, I wanted to see this so much, but I wasn't in New York. Renee Taylor is doing her solo comedy, My Life on a Diet. at the George Street Theater in New Brunswick, New Jersey. That is starting next week. J.O. Sanders, who tuned in a little while ago to the show, remember that he is off Broadway in Richard Nelson's acclaimed play The Michaels. That is the continuing Gabriel's Saga at the Public Theater off Broadway now through December 1st. Also playing now through December 1st in Virginia, Ethan McSweeney is directing The Willard Suitcases. And then starting on Broadway, we just mentioned LaShawne's before. She is in this new production of A Christmas Carol, playing the ghost of Christmas Present. That is at the Lyceum Theater on Broadway. Playing now through the middle of January off Broadway, it's Alan Menken's musical Little Shop of Horrors at the West Side Theater. Hadestown, guess who that stars on Broadway? Andre DeShields. Yeah, we know. Let's see. Hamilton features Daniel Breaker playing Aaron Burr. Come From Away is written by our friends Irene Sankoff and David Hine. And Danny Burston, wonderful actor, he is in Moulin Rouge at the Hirschfeld, while Tootsie at the Marriott Marquis is co-written by David Yazbek and features our friend Julie Halston. Now, moving away from Broadway, Jim Caruso's Cast Party every Monday night at Birdland. Go check out StageBuddy.com, a wonderful website founded by our friend Evan Seplow. Dr. Demento still doing new Dr. Demento shows on the web only at drdemento.com. Charlie Gross and Leslie Hoban Blake, who are, and I was happy to see them both at the theater this week. They host a theater review show called Two on the Aisle that happens alternate weeks on Manhattan Neighborhood Network TV. Eva Heinemann is on the same network. You can find out, just do Facebook or Google both of them. Charlie Gross and Leslie Hoban Blake, or Eva Heinemann with her show, High Drama. Want to remind you that you can listen to podcasts about upstate New York history by Bob Cudmore at bobcudmore.com. Stuart Brown has a website of pure show tunes of theater music at soundsofbroadway.com. And Valerie Smaldone's Bagels and Broadway you can listen to on AM 970 on Saturday mornings. See, She was, shall we say, direct competition 3 hours ago, but now I'm fine with it. So yeah, go listen. If you want to listen to me in the archives and check out Valerie Smaldone on Saturday mornings, do that. But, well, one thing we must do is thank and wish the best for all the friends of the Daverhood. Oh, we're so highfalutin and classy with the classical music, aren't we? Well, that's a perfect lead in to our final segment of the program for this Saturday, November 9th, because we've gotten musical, we've gotten theatrical. It is time to get poetical with our Colorado Limerick of the Damned.
You're the poetry man. A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick. Rocky Mountain.
Thank you, Christine Lavin, for that Rado opening of our Colorado Limerick. So here's the deal. For at least a year now, every week on the program, I have been doing one limerick devoted to a place in Colorado. It could be a big city like Denver or Fort Collins or Vail, or even the tiniest little hamlets with 15 Gertrudes in them. Whatever it is, for no particular reason, I started writing a poem about all these places, and I share one a week with you. Kind of a great way to learn about Colorado history too. Today we go to Becque, not the Beck. No, it's Becque, Colorado, a town of about 500 people located in Grand Junction, which is a larger area. The Ute tribe lived there until the town was named for a rancher who came exploring in 1884. Now, Becque, the town, was known as a trading post for wild horses, who presumably were dragged away by rolling stones. Now, basically, they're known for a tourist attraction called Wild Horse Days, which has a rodeo and all that kind of Greeley stampede sort of stuff. Also, Becque was one of the first towns in Colorado to embrace marijuana sales as a way to boost tax revenues. So a pretty forward-thinking place in a way, Becque, Colorado. And therefore, I've recently written a poem, a limerick, about the town of Becque, or Colorado Limerick of the Damned. I should wave a hanky. Highfalutin. Oh, how all the boys yearned to neck with lovely Denise from Becque. The losers brought candy and roses and brandy. The winners just gave her a check. Get the eyebrows, the little Groucho Marx the eyebrows? That's actually one of our more PG-rated Colorado limerick. The kids could have even stayed in the room for that one. But that is our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. Make sure to send your comments and complaint letters to Dave's Gone By at AOL.com, DAVESGONEBY, Dave's Gone By at AOL.com, or feel free to post it right on this Facebook page, which is also called Dave's Gone By. Be sure to follow me and the show at Radio Dave 2. That is Radio Dave and the number 2. What else can I tell you? Remind you that Rabbi Saul Solomon, he has a website, shalomgamut.com it is. He also has the Twitter feed at Rabbi Saul Solomon. And we thank him so much for doing the interview today with Pete and Maura Kennedy. We certainly thank them most of all for being so much fun in the Daverhood. Go see them, and you know what, there's so much. It's kennedysmusic.com is their website. So remember, their show on the 21st at the Hewlett Woodmere Library. They're going to be at different stages, they do this and that, and the cruise, and that. It's all at kennedysmusic.com. And remember that Pete has a book, Tone, Twang, and Taste, which you can get on Amazon and other places as well. So we thank them. I will let you know, let's see, upcoming in the Daverhood in the weeks ahead. Well, first of all, as I intimated early in the program, we did a nice 4-hour show today. Basically because I always do a 4-hour show, but specifically because you're going to have another vacation week, another week away without not poor Dave. I'm going to be sunning and funning away from the New York and Colorado cold in Austin, Texas, for a couple of days towards the end of the weekend. So no, we're going to be touring, and Joyce has conference stuff to do. So alas, no new Dave's Gone By next Saturday morning. So remember to go to davesgoneby.com for 17 years worth of archives, or check out some recent archives at archive.org, as well as castbox.fm. I mean, literally, certainly davesgoneby.com is the first place to check to hear literally thousands of hours of Dave's Gone By comedy, interviews, music, all of the stuff is right there. So check that out. I'm sorry that we won't be here next week, but we will be back, Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise, on November 23rd with a new episode of the show. We're pretty sure about the guest, but not going to mention it yet. And then on November 30th, live on the broadcast, calling in to the one, the only, the Jewish Rabbi Saul Solomon. Speaking of talented musicians in a folk and rock and pop idiom, Steve Forbert will be joining. Sometimes I'm always worried when I pre-announce people who are going to be live, because all sorts of things can go wrong when I don't pre-tape these things. But no, little Steve Forbert will be on the broadcast Saturday, November 30th at the end of the month. So until then, it remains for me to certainly wish all the veterans who are watching. It's amazing. There are probably people who watched people die and had bullets whizzing by them, and then maybe we, God forbid, hit by bullets or shrapnel or a PTSD, and now they're watching this show. Which is worse? I wonder. Really the worst way to spend your time. But anyway, happy Veterans Day and a memorable Veterans Day to the veterans of wars and even people who just have been in the military. Thank you. Thank you, as they say, so much for your service. Let's see. Thank Rabbi Saul Solomon for his Shabbos services, which he does right here on the show. Not really. What else? I'm just dragging this out. There's no reason to. It is time to leave the Daverhood, and we will leave with one more song by Pete and Maura Kennedy. What could be more appropriate than a song called When I Go and Gone By?
Somebody asked for this song. It's a beautiful, beautiful song written by a pal of ours named Dave Carter. It's called Lemon Pillow. Come, lonely hunter, chieftain and king, I will fly like the falcon when I go. Bear me, my brother, under your wing. I will strike, fell like lightning when I go. I will bellow like the thunder drum, invoke the storm of war, twist and round, spot dust and blood up from the burning floor. I will sweep the foe before me like a gale out on the snow, and wind will long recount the story, reverence and glory.
So thank you one last time to the Kennedys. Thank you all for tuning in and watching. Thank you so much for telling other people and getting them into watch parties and letting folks know that this show is here. We're here to stay. We're going to go for our 721st program in 2 weeks of the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the stream. Or, as Gene Shepard would say, see, he would say, Excelsior, you fathead. But you guys aren't fatheads. You're joining me. You're thin heads. You know? Excelsior and Gone By.